Gentlemen, start your engine.
We're about to unleash hundreds of horsepower as we get set for the Dover, Delaware 500. The weather is threatening here this afternoon. That's the reason why the command has already been given to start engines, and the race will be getting underway very shortly. The temperature is 72 degrees. We do have overcast skies right now and a 90% humidity. However, the forecast is for clearing skies as we go throughout the afternoon. So the cars are lined up now on the pit area, 40 strong, getting ready to move onto the racetrack in just a few moments. Let's go to Jerry Punch on pit road.
Well, it's a Ford foursome up front. On the pole, a brand new track record, young Mark Martin here, qualifying the Jack Roush Stroh-Lite Ford. 4 Fords in the first 4 starting spots. Alongside him is Alan Kulwicki. Of course, Kulwicki sat on the front row here a year ago. Starting third, the man who is trying to hang on to this point lead, that is Bill Elliott. Bill Elliott had a problem early in the week. He tore up the car he was scheduled to run here at Dover in Friday's first practice session. The car had a problem with the engine. He smacked the wall and had to bring the backup car out. This is actually the car he ran at Darlington and won there. And starting fourth, the car that's won the past 2 years in a row, Brett Bodine in the Crisco Ford, and he needs to win in a big way. Let's go further up pit road to Dick Berger. Dick?
Well, Rusty Wallace had been a solid contender for the Winston Cup points title until last week, when an early and controversial wreck with Jeff Bodine put him out at the dawn of the race and butted him down to third place in points. Rusty needs a strong finish here this afternoon to retain any hope of the title. Bodine was severely criticized after the race by Wallace. Wallace said he had brain pain. Certainly for Wallace and for Jeff Bodine, this race this afternoon takes on added meaning. Both desperately want to win to overcome last week.
Jerry Punch and Dick Berggren on pit road. Larry Nuber is at Pit Central. Let's introduce to you right now the starting lineup for today's Delaware 500. On the pole with a new track record of 148.075 miles an hour in the Stroh-Lite Ford number 6, Mark Martin. Outside of row number 1, it's the Xerox Antifreeze Ford, Alan Kulwicki from Greenfield, Wisconsin. Row number 2, Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia in the number 9 Coors Ford. Outside of the second row is Brett Bodine in number 15, the Crisco Ford. Then Rusty Wallace starts 5th in the number 27 Kodiak Pontiac, and alongside Jeff Bodine in the number 5 Levi Garrett Chevrolet. The 4th row, Darrell Waltrip in car number 17, the Tide Chevy, and Morgan Shepherd in the number 88 Red Baron Frozen Pizza Oldsmobile. In row number 5, it's Ken Schrader, car 25, the Folgers Coffee Chevy, and then Davey Allison, who won last week at Richmond in the number 28 Haviland Ford. The 6th row, Michael Waltrip, a winner in the Grand National race here yesterday, the number 30 Country Time Pontiac, and defending Winston Cup champion Dale Earnhardt in the number 3 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. The 7th row, Kyle Petty in the Wood Brothers number 21 Citgo Ford, and Lake Speed in driving the number 83 Wins Oldsmobile. The 8th row has Sterling Marlin in number 44, the Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile, and the 55 Crown Skull Classic Oldsmobile driven by Phil Parsons. Row number 9, Dale Jarrett in the number 29 Hardee's Oldsmobile, and Bobby Hillen Jr. in the Miller High Life Buick car number 8. Row number 10, the number 26 Quaker State Buick driven by Ricky Rudd, and the number 4 Kodak Film Oldsmobile driven by Rick Wilson. As you look at the rest of the field, let's talk a little bit about the racetrack and how tough it is. In the booth with me, Ned Jarrett and Gary Nelson. It's a very tough track. Some have figured it out, and Ricky Rudd is one of them.
He certainly is. He has won the last 2 races in September here at Dover Downs. He's a very smooth race driver. He knows how to take care of his equipment, and that is a key factor here at Dover. You got to be smooth all day long, keep in the lead lap, and be competitive as long as you possibly can be. He won from 11th and 13th position, but he was driving a Ford. He's driving a Buick this year, starting in 19th position. And Gary Nelson, what about all these Fords up front? Is horsepower the reason they're up there? What does it take here?
Well, Dover is a very interesting track. You know, the popular opinion has always been that the Fords have, the motors produce more low-end torque, which gives them a little better pulling power, and it's almost uphill coming off these turns. So that's been kind of the way everybody has thought about it. But I think in more recent times, the horsepower and the torque curves have evened out between the Chevys and the Fords, so it may be a little more aerodynamic today.
All right, here comes the field through corners number 3 and 4, and we should be getting a start to this 500-lap race on the 1-mile Dover Downs International Speedway. The pace car is in. The front row, Mark Martin and Alan Kulwicki, a couple of guys who have never won Winston Cup races. The green flag flies, and here we go. They stay two abreast through the first and second turns. Mark Martin on the inside and Alan Kulwicki on the outside. Here comes Bill Elliott, though, from his second row starting position. And Bill Elliott is going to grab the lead as they head for turn number 3 with Mark Martin running in second position. Elliott is going to lead lap number 1 of 500. Brett Bodine has gone to third position. Alan Kulwicki is back to fourth. And then the 5th spot is being held by Rusty Wallace as they're down the backstretch once again. Bill Elliott in the number 9, the current points leader in Winston Cup competition. Here's some battling going on in the pack. That's Dale Earnhardt along with Michael Waltrip. Also right there in the number 55 car is Phil Parsons, Lake Speed in 83. And there is Kyle Petty in car number 21 looking to the inside of Lake Speed.
You know, with the threatening skies here today, Dover has always been approached by the drivers as an endurance race. Just take it easy, wait around for the last 100 laps and then race. But today, it's all going to change. The drivers have to be thinking about what if this race gets shortened by rain. We have to be in a position to win. So they're all trying real hard right now. They're going to look at it as a 250-mile race first and then see how things are at that point and go from there. Exactly. It's going to be very hard on the equipment to run that hard for that long. Usually everybody just takes it easy. Today, I think we're going to see a lot of racing from early all the way through the middle of the race. The 28 car driven by Davey Allison, most recent winner in Winston Cup competition. The number 30 yellow car driven by Michael Waltrip, the most recent winner in NASCAR competition yesterday here at this track in Grand National competition. And then the number 55 car driven by Phil Parsons, all racing for position. Parsons making a move on Michael Waltrip, getting down on the inside. We'll see that most of the drivers are using the low groove here in the early going. As the race goes on, though, the groove will move up. And you can see how Bill Elliott and Mark Martin have sort of taken off and left the others in their wake. Bill Elliott in the number 9 car leads, and Mark Martin, number 6, is in second position. Then about a half a straightaway back already. The number 7 car of Alan Kulwicki, then Brett Bodine, Rusty Wallace, Jeff Bodine, Morgan Shepherd, Darrell Waltrip, and Ken Schrader. Well, that really is a big jump that Mark Martin and Bill Elliott have taken over Alan Kulwicki there. That's quite a distance for such few laps, 6 laps into the race, and it looks like they're pulling away pretty good. There are Rusty Wallace and Jeff Bodine, the guys that had the on-track altercation at Richmond last week, in which Rusty Wallace's car was very heavily damaged, and he was unable to complete the race, losing second place in the point standings, falling to third. And there is Jeff Bodine, who had the encounter with him. Now we move up and watch Ricky Rudd in the number 26 car, along with Dale Jarrett in 29, and number 12, that's Mike Alexander. And they're all, excuse me, Bob, are catching up to Dale Earnhardt. Dale is sort of backpedaling through the field at the moment. Now, whether he's changed his driving style here at Dover, he's had a tough time finishing 500 laps on this racetrack. And as we said at the top of the show, it's a track that you can't really attack for 500 miles. You got to sort of take it easy. And you wonder if he maybe is changing his driving style, or maybe the car just won't go any faster at this point. You can see Dale Earnhardt just ahead of Ricky Rudd up there, just ahead of Sterling Marlin also. You know, Dale Earnhardt is known as a hard-charging driver, one who charges really hard. But I don't think he's ever finished in the lead lap here at Dover. That's his crew was telling me that this morning. And maybe that's kind of what you're saying, Ned, that the track really isn't suited for hard-charging drivers. Well, you can see the tire smoke coming off of Sterling Marlin's car number 44 as he came off of that turn. The fans all came to their feet. They thought something was going to happen. You can still see smoke from that, and you wonder if Sterling maybe has gotten next to somebody as Mike Alexander goes on the inside. Here's Ricky Rudd going by Dale Earnhardt. So Rudd moves to the inside in number 26, and Dale Earnhardt to the outside. That statistic that you guys were talking about is absolutely correct. Not only is Dale Earnhardt
never won here at this racetrack, he has never finished on the lead lap, and he would certainly like to change that statistic here this weekend. Now, last year, you remember, he was indeed a leader of this race. It looked like that he was going to win, but the car went away, and Ricky Rudd drove the victory. Now we see some action from inside Rick Wilson's car, the Kodak in-car camera. Right ahead of him is the Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile driven by Sterling Marlin. Dale Jarrett also up ahead, and so is Dale Earnhardt. I'm not so sure that that smoke that was coming from Marlin's car was tire smoke. We'll continue to watch that, though.
Yeah, it looked like that he might have had a tire rubbing. Now, many times, especially coming off of turn 4, we will see tire smoke from the right rear tire. But that seemed to be a little bit more and a little bit early. But as we see him on the straightaway here, we don't see any of it. We'll see him watching as he goes into the turn and see if any of it happens as Rick Wilson tries to make a move on him.
We're watching outside the back glass of the Hardee's Oldsmobile, and this action continues to heat up as the number 30 car of Michael Waltrip is being passed by, or at least Darrell Waltrip, his brother, is attempting to pass him. That's Lake Speed on the inside, and Kyle Petty on the inside. Looks like Darrell may be falling back just a little here.
Yes, he is. I'm not sure his car is handling the way he wants to. Of course, now Darrell is a very smart race driver, and it could be that he's sort of taking it easy, but I don't believe he's taking it that easy. He lost 5 spots the last lap, and here he's losing 2 more.
Well, there's a good example right here. Ricky Rudd going forward, Darrell Waltrip going backward. You know, you almost guess at your chassis setup because it constantly changes here at Dover and really at most racetracks nowadays. But it looks like Ricky Rudd, starting farther back in the field, has chosen a better starting race setup than Darrell. They passed each other. Ricky going to the front, Darrell kind of moving towards the back.
Now the 21 car of Kyle Petty is in 13th, and Ricky Rudd trying to pass him and pick up the spot. Now here is Ken Schrader in car number 25 and Davey Allison in number 28 as they trade positions, and Michael Waltrip is also right there. Waltrip has to have a psychological edge at least going into this event because of the tremendous victory that he had yesterday, his first in Grand National competition.
Yeah, that's good racing right there. Ken Schrader and Davey Allison. Davey in the Ford, Ken Schrader in the Chevrolet on the outside. They're both, looks like Ken Schrader, when he gets up on the outside of Davey, gets a little momentum. Davey was able to pull up alongside of him, but now he's having a hard time going on past because of the momentum that Ken Schrader gets from running a little higher.
The car that's on the outside is able to keep his RPMs up just a little bit more. He's traveling a little farther distance, but not losing as many RPMs in the turns, and it usually gives him a better run off of each turn and down the straightaway.
That green and white pole that you saw in the shot there on the back stretch is actually the furlong pole for the horse track, which is located inside this paved facility. This is run on the smaller track to the inside. Now we're watching the 9th place Ken Schrader and 10th place Davey Allison, but up front it is still Bill Elliott who is setting the pace of the Delaware 500. He's followed by Mark Martin. We'll be back with more of our live coverage on this Sunday afternoon from Dover Downs International Speedway. Live coverage of the Delaware 500 is being brought to you by Budweiser, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. By Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has and always will. And by Dickies, they're America's favorite work clothes. The top 10 after 20 laps, Bill Elliott, the leader. Mark Martin is second. Alan Kulwicki running third. Brett Bodine is fourth, and Rusty Wallace is fifth. In 6th position is Jeff Bodine. 7th is Morgan Shepherd. 8th is Phil Parsons. 9th is Ken Schrader, and 10th, Davey Allison. And there you can see that Bill Elliott and Mark Martin have now begun to lap some of the slower traffic already, moving to the high side of the Buddy Arrington car number 67 that's being driven this weekend by Brad Teague.
Boy, Elliott and Martin are really setting a fast pace here. They have moved away from the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place cars, and surprising really that they've been able to do that.
Boy, that is some kind of race. You know, Mark Martin winning the pole would like to lead some laps. I mean, he's really pressuring Bill Elliott. He wants to take the lead and just show what he can do. Davey Allison and Ken Schrader still side by side. That is amazing, lap after lap, just racing side. Here comes Davey on up ahead. It looks like he's getting almost a little bit of push from Ricky Rudd.
Well, they're racing for 9th position here. Allison is in 9th, and then Schrader, followed by Rudd and Michael Waltrip. The average speed 142.574. In pit central, an update from Larry Newberg.
Bob, I have checked with both the Darrell Waltrip crew and Dale Earnhardt crew, and nothing is wrong as such. But yes, you guys in the booth are absolutely right. They're not on the pace. Dale is unhappy with the tire setup. He's particularly talking about the stagger, the difference between the size on the right and left side. They're preparing a change right now. They're screwing over the tires. Darrell says the car is too loose. They're not worried about rain coming at least before the first pit stop. They both crews say, we'll change it in the first pit stop. We'll be better the next time around.
So we'll continue to watch for the developments regarding those two cars. Meanwhile, on the racetrack in 10th position is Ken Schrader in number 25. In 11th spot is Ricky Rudd in number 26. And then Michael Waltrip in car number 30 is 25. Laps have been completed out of 500.
Bill Elliott now has a 5-second lead over the third place car, which is being shown as Alan Kulwicki.
Look at this racing here. Ricky Rudd trying to get around Ken Schrader. He turned sideways coming off the fourth turn that last lap. Boy, he's really trying awful hard. Let's go down to Dick Bergman in Richard Petty's pit.
Well, Gary, it appears as if Richard Petty is having a tire problem of some sort. No tire problems of any kind were anticipated today, but he's in for an unscheduled pit stop for a right front tire.
He had started to slow down a little bit. He was running good, and here comes another car. That would be Eddie Beerswall coming into the pits as well. But Richard Petty had moved up through the field a little bit, and then all of a sudden he started to back tread, and then he came into the pits. So apparently he had a tire going down.
And there is the number 21 car of Kyle Petty making a move on Michael Waltrip in number 30 as the lead is being fought for now. Mark Martin is making a bid on Bill Elliott. Elliott has led the entire distance so far, but here is Mark Martin in the number 6 car, the pole sitter, trying to take over that top spot. It's the first pole position for the Stroh crew, led by Jack Roush, and they would like very much to record their first victory in Winston Cup competition. Now the race settles down just a little bit as Mark has fallen in behind Bill Elliott, but certainly these two cars, the class of the field in the first 28 laps.
Now, Bob, I mentioned a moment ago that they were 5 seconds ahead of Alan Kulwicki. I'll have to correct myself. That was ahead of Brett Bodine, who is running in 4th place. Alan Kulwicki is only about 1.5 seconds behind the front runners, and as a matter of fact, he is gaining on them at the moment.
You can almost feel the determination in these two drivers. Bill Elliott wanting to lead the race. You know, he's been the top 4 driver for so long, and here comes Mark Martin along and wins the pole away from Bill Elliott and several others here at Dover. Then Bill Elliott charges in front, leads the first lap. Mark Martin really is determined to show that his car is faster than Bill Elliott's.
Mike Alexander in car number 12 to the inside of Michael Waltrip in car number 30 as Mike Alexander takes that position away. Mike has signed a deal with the Stravola brothers for full-time employment next year.
He's moving up through the field. He was the 2nd round fastest qualifier. He said he told me this morning he just goofed up a little bit in the 1st round qualifying and requalified then yesterday afternoon or yesterday morning and got the 2nd round fastest qualifier award. So he started 21st, but he is really moving up through the field.
There is shuffling going on all over the racetrack. This is amazing. 31 laps into the race here at Dover.
And some more side-by-side
and Rusty
racing.
Wallace is in the pits. Rusty Wallace, an unscheduled pit stop.
And so is Darrell Waltrip.
Now, Waltrip's car had started going very, very high in the turns. We noted earlier that he was not handling too good as we watch this side-by-side battle between Kyle Petty and Kenny Schrader. Right side tires for Rusty Wallace, and it looks like they're going around to the left side as well, so it'll be 4 tires for Rusty Wallace. He'll go at least 1 lap down. And Morgan Shepherd coming into the pits. Something a little unusual here. We really didn't expect tires to be any kind of a problem here today.
Well, it looked like a flat right front tire on Rusty Wallace's car. We know Richard Petty had a flat right front.
Here come the leaders, meanwhile, out of corner number 4 as they race down the straightaway, and Mark Martin is right there on the back bumper of Bill Elliott as both Rusty Wallace, who had a blistered right front tire, and Darrell Waltrip have completed pit stops and moved back out onto the racetrack. Morgan Shepherd, as we watch the action on the track, is still in the pit. So Yeah, indeed, tires may be a factor here. We had not had any evidence that there would be a tire problem in the practice and the qualifying, but indeed it could be as the race progresses.
Boy, what a surprise. You know, this is all the cars started on Goodyear tires. The Goodyear tires were fast. The temperatures in practice were way within the means of what we would think would be safe. Here's Ricky Rudd, apparently another tire problem. 34 laps in the race. All of these cars are coming in.
But this is the first time that they have run this many laps. You know, during practice runs,
we have a car in the wall. Mark Martin is in the wall in turn 3 and 4. An unfortunate set of circumstances for the pole sitter of the Delaware 500. Mark Martin has come in contact with the wall in corners 3 and 4. And if we have this on replay, we perhaps can see what happened. But could this have been a tire problem for him?
I would guess that it was a tire problem for Mark Martin.
Yeah, you know, when the leaders start coming in the pits like this, you're going to expect tire problems. Apparently Mark Martin had some type of tire problem. Here's a replay.
Okay, he's following Bill Elliott into the turn, and just all of a sudden he gets loose, it looks like. Well, let's see, he's coming out of turn 2, and we'll follow him up the back stretch going into turn 3. It looked like the car was a little loose as he came out of that turn. Then all of a sudden, the right front tire must have gone flat because it just veered straight into the wall. He had no control over it, and of course, that's the reason for the caution out.
Bill Elliott has come into the pits, and Jerry Punch is there to call the action.
Well, a lot of concern down here. The tires that came off of Morgan Shepherd's car and Darrell Walton's car were blistered. The right front tires blistered badly. And now Elliott is in getting his right side. Has already gotten right side tires. As you see, they are putting left side rubber on the Coors Ford. And Dale Earnhardt's also in. Let's go to Dick Berger. Dick?
I'm seeing blistered tires as well, and as Gary Nelson mentioned, everybody had thought this was going to be an easy day. We thought there was going to be no tire story at all. The tire temperatures were so cool, but just about everybody is taking off Goodyear tires that are blistered. No one understands why. No one knows what's going on. We saw no evidence of this in practice, but we've sure got it now.
And it certainly isn't because we have warm temperatures here today. As a matter of fact, it's very overcast and pretty cool, actually, as Mark Martin has gotten out of his wrecked race car. We again take a look at what happened involving Mark Martin in the number 6 car, who was trailing Bill Elliott in second.
And the car, as he went into turn 3, just all of a sudden veered to the right and into the wall, and apparently the right front tire went flat. And Ken Schrader has had a problem down in turn 1. Let's see if we can pick up what his problem was just as the caution was coming out. Here he is coming off of the wall, so apparently he had a tire to go down. You can see the damage to the right front of the Folger Chevrolet, and that was just as the caution was coming out on the other end of the racetrack.
So a significant development is occurring here in this race. Tires apparently are becoming a major problem. There is the Mark Martin wrecked car at the head of the straightaway. We'll continue this drama on a Sunday afternoon at Delaware in the Delaware 500.
We welcome you back to Dover, Delaware, and the first caution flag of the day for the accident produced by Mark Martin in the wall. And here's the problem. To everyone's surprise, take a look at what's happening. A brand new tire, and they have had no problem all week in practice here, but in the early laps, we are seeing severe tire wear. This is blistering. This is not tire wear, I should say. This is blistering. The tires are blistering and bubbling up, chunks of rubber coming off. It's a brand new tire. This is Bill Elliott's right rear tire. A couple more laps and Elliott might have also been in the wall, so a break for him and not a break for Mark Martin. So Mark Martin's car heavily damaged in turn 4. We are still under yellow here at Dover. Gentlemen?
Boy, I can't imagine what all the action we're seeing here today. It's just unbelievable. The tire problem, what a surprise. Here's Ken Schrader. Boy, his car hit the wall hard. We didn't even see it right at the beginning of that caution. Now look at what happens here in the pit road. Everybody's in the pits at once. There's tires laying all over. They're dodging them. There's one up there. Here's, yeah, look at there, just scraping the wall, almost getting hit. There's a tire right in front of him. He's got to swerve. It's unbelievable how Rick Wilson missed all of that, still came out without any damage.
So the Mark Martin car is now being lifted from the racetrack as the debris is being cleaned up there in turns 3 and 4, and a new windshield is going in the Jeff Bodine car. Jerry Punch, what's going on?
Well, Jeff Bodine happened to be in the wrong place at the right time. Debris came up and literally took his windshield apart. They have brought him in here under caution, and they are trying to put this windshield back in. That's Waddell Wilson and the rest of the Levi Garrett crew trying to tape the windshield in. They will not have time to bolt it in completely during this lap. They will bring him back in, and so a new windshield for Jeff Bodine. Let's go to Larry Newber. Larry?
Oh, Jerry, 500 miles is a common length for a Winston Cup race, but this place is not a common race. We have the tire problem that we think we're developing here, but perhaps the most important member, stressed member of this race car at this racetrack is the engine. You don't measure really engine stress in terms of miles. You measure it in terms of the number of hours. And this is a race that could easily go well over 4 hours of speed up and start down. The engine may well be the most stressed member of the chassis here at Dover today. Plus, we're modifying that with this tire problem.
Indeed we are, and that is the Mark Martin car being taken off the racetrack right now. He and Ken Schrader both come in contact with the walls, as several had tire problems in the early going of this race. Back in a moment after this. We're back at Dover Downs International Speedway for a Sunday afternoon edition of Speed World, and we're yellow for the first time this afternoon because of an accident involving Mark Martin. His car coming in contact with the wall in turn number 4, and there is the Ken Schrader car that also had contact at the other end of this racetrack. The paved racetrack, there you can see the horse track facility, which is being used here. One of the landmarks connected with the harness racing facility is located near turn 1 of the asphalt track. Here's a quick fact. Quick facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
One of the unique features here at Dover Downs is this skybox located some 70 feet in the air above turns 1 and 2. Now this box serves a dual purpose. During the harness racing facilities, this box is where judges will sit and overlook the harness racing track. Now you just overlook turns 1 and 2 of the harness facility, determine if there's been an on-track incident or foul during those events. Now up until 2 years ago, this box served as NASCAR control. They actually ran the race from inside this skybox here over turn 1. That has since been moved atop the main grandstand area here. That is NASCAR control there above the main grandstand area. This box here is primarily for people who want to watch the race, get a good bird's eye view, some spotters for some of the crews, and even some safety officials to watch for on-track debris.
And there's a live shot of that facility, which is located, as we said, near turn 1. Well, we're 42 laps in to 500 of the Delaware 500 under caution. Back after these messages. We are back at Dover Downs International Speedway, and we are still under caution for the crashes involving Mark Martin and Ken Schrader, both drivers okay. Now, these accidents apparently caused by some tire problems. We have seen it in the early stages of this race. Dick Berggren has been studying this tire situation and can tell us exactly what it's all about. Dick?
Well, Bob, here's what's happening. Everybody thought no problems with the Goodyears, but we're seeing problems. Why are we seeing problems? I just asked one of the Goodyear engineers, and he said, I wish I know. Maybe Richard Childress does. Childress said he thought maybe the problem was due to the fact it rained hard last night. We have a green track. A lot of the teams, however, aren't sure. They don't know what to do. They don't know whether to stick with the Goodyears or switch to the Hoosiers. There's a whole trailer full of Hoosiers, and before the race, Bob Newton, who owns the Hoosier Tire Company, said, don't worry about a thing. My tires are absolutely reliable, even though they're a bit harder and not quite as fast as the Goodyear tires are. Well, that's what Goodyear thought, too. It's a big guessing game, and part of the guessing game is that the size difference between the Hoosiers and the Goodyears is fairly significant. That's going to affect the engines. Jerry Punch, what do you think?
Well, that may have a problem, may have an effect, but it won't have an effect on Mike Waltrip. Take a look at his problem. The valve cover just came apart on the Waltrip Country Time Lemonade Pontiac. He's been in twice, and he finally changed the valve cover. He is back on the speedway and did not lose a lap. We're going green, gentlemen.
And you can see that the number 27 car is the one that will lead them down for the restart. That's Rusty Wallace. However, he is a lap down trying to get his lap back. The 26 car of Ricky Rudd apparently is also a lap down, and the leader of this race is the number 9 machine driven by Bill Elliott, who was actually 4th there in line.
Ricky Rudd, Richard Petty, and Rusty Wallace had all made unscheduled pit stops. They're all ahead of Bill Elliott right now, but Elliott's about to put Rusty Wallace that lap down, and he does.
Bill Elliott really has that car hooked up. You know, Bill Elliott being the point leader, Rusty Wallace trying very hard to regain some of the lost ground he lost at Richmond in the points race. and Dale Earnhardt having problems, Bill Elliott just looks like he's just sailing away.
And Dale Earnhardt in the number 3 car is trying to move up through the traffic also. Behind him is the 17 car of Darrell Waltrip. There's the 55 of Phil Parsons. Davey Allison is also back there along with Mike Alexander and the number 11 car, the Junior Johnson prepared Budweiser-sponsored Chevrolet driven by Terry Labonte.
Dale Earnhardt fared best perhaps on this pit stop because he was back in the pack running about 13th or 14th, and he was in the top 5, in fact in 5th position when he came out of the pits.
There you can see Earnhardt in 4th, Darrell Waltrip behind him.
But Waltrip had made a green flag pit stop just before the caution came out.
Boy, what a surprise, I think, for everybody. I had a conversation with the head Goodyear engineer, the development engineer, this morning before the race, and he told me that things looked so good it was almost scary. The tire temperatures were all well within limits. Everything about the tire it was fast, the compound was right. All the cars in the race were starting on Goodyears, and then right away, or 30 laps in the race, tire blisters. So maybe it was that rain that washed all the rubber off the racetrack. Maybe this problem will go away as the race goes on.
Well, in any case, it certainly gives us something to think about and to look at for the rest of the afternoon here, as we are only 50 laps into this race and some major tire problems have occurred already. And we saw those problems occur at about lap number 35 or 40, so we'll watch for the next 25 or so laps to see if we might have a reoccurrence of those tire problems.
Davey Allison might have a problem, Bob. He's slowed a little bit. He's back running about the 12th position, and several cars are moving around him now, including Rick Wilson and several others. David Sutter down on the inside of the racetrack. That car is definitely not running up to par. Here's Rick Wilson as we look out the rear window of his car, and you can see Davey Allison back there. That's Lake Speed in the purple car right behind Rick Wilson, but down on the inside, the white front end is the car of Davey Allison running on the inside of the racetrack at a slower speed.
When they restarted from the caution, Davey was up and around 4th or 5th position, but he has dropped back significantly now and is continuing to do so as Benny Parsons goes to the outside, and now the number 75 car of Neil Bonnet is also passing. There is Benny in car number 90, and the number 10 car is driven by Ken Bouchard, and that's the car that is right behind Davey Allison. Now back up front to check on what's going on there, and it's still Bill Elliott who is showing the way and leading this race. That's Richard Petty and Ricky Rudd ahead of Bill Elliott, but remember, those guys are just simply getting their lap back. The car immediately behind Bill Elliott is the 2nd place car. That's the 15 driven by Brett Bodine.
Bob, we see Richard Petty there just ahead of Bill Elliott. Of course, Richard had made an unscheduled pit stop, so he's 1 lap down. Now, in years past, that would not have been a problem. In fact, I think Richard Petty was 13 laps down. It was a big number of laps down here at Dover one year and came back to win the race. But you can't do that now. The competition is absolutely too strong. Too many cars out there that are capable of winning. So those days are long gone when you can come from that far back and win.
Well, you know, it's things like that, Ned, that have earned this track the reputation of being the monster mile. It's just so many different things happen here at Dover than anywhere else. There's no racetrack quite like Dover. It's just shaped differently. It really strains and puts different amounts of stress on the car in areas that we've never even thought about. And the drivers with 500 miles, a big problem with fatigue late in the race. This race is really just a different racetrack.
We have a report that Davey Allison might have a pushing problem, that his car at the back end is too tight, so he evidently got a mismatched set of tires, and it must be a badly mismatched set of tires. And one thing, Gary, that he would not want to do is to run the car too hard, because when the car is pushing, it will heat up in that right front, especially after we've seen the problems that we've had here today.
Oh, you're right, Ned. If that car's pushing as badly as it looks like it is, that's got to be really overheating that right front tire. And you saw the shot of Mark Martin's tire. When it blew out, there was no steering at all. That car went straight to the wall, and it total lost that car. As narrow as that car was after hitting the wall, we're lucky Mark Martin wasn't injured, and that car was awfully badly damaged.
Davey Allison continues to go to the back as Bill Elliott continues to set the pace. And now Brett Bodine is within about 2 car lengths of Elliott. Those two are 1st and 2nd. The number 7 car of Alan Kulwicki is 3rd. Mike Alexander shown in 4th position, and the 55 of Phil Parsons is 5th after 58 laps. Back with more of our live coverage in a moment. Capacity crowd on hand at Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware, where we are live for the Delaware 500 Winston Cup race. And with 63 laps completed, it is Bill Elliott in the number 9 Coors Motorcraft Ford leading Brett Bodine and Alan Kulwicki, Mike Alexander, and Terry Labonte. Now the car ahead of Bill Elliott once again is the 43 car of Richard Petty. However, he is now on the lead lap, but essentially a lap down. Ricky Rudd is also right there in car number 26. He too has gotten his lap back. And let's go to Pit Central and Larry Newber.
Bob, remember that Ricky Rudd almost won the race a week ago at Richmond, and they were lapping this speedway at about the fastest speed of anybody on the crew watches and the late afternoon practice yesterday afternoon. Even though he started 19th, they had great confidence. They did not plan on dropping a lap down here because of tire problems, of course, early in the race. But here's a team that very much thinks they can win this race, and Ricky is now on the lead lap, but unfortunately, he's the distance of 1 lap behind.
He didn't have a particularly good qualifying effort here this weekend. However, that really doesn't mean anything. It's more where you finish the race than where you start the race. Rudd began back in 19th position, about 5 miles an hour off the pole speed.
I'm very impressed with that Kenny Bernstein team, the team that Ricky Rudd drives for. You know, they started off this season, and Ricky Rudd was new to the team, and they had other personnel changes, and it looked like they were really struggling in the early part of the season. Now it almost looks like they're gaining strength every week. They've been moving up in the points, moving up in the finishing. Here's Terry Labonte and Sterling Marlin racing pretty close. Labonte's car's been smoking a little bit in the turns, smoking his tires just slightly. So he's going to have to really be careful as we get a little farther into the race to make sure he doesn't have any tire problems.
This is 5th and 6th here. Terry Labonte in number 11, and in 6th spot is the number 44 car of Sterling Marlin. And while we have the opportunity, let us express our condolences to the Sterling Marlin family. His mom died this past week. Sterling did not qualify this car, but has put all that aside and is driving a fine race here at Dover. There's the leader, Bill Elliott, and right behind him is Brett Bodine. There is the number 21 car of Kyle Petty and Rusty Wallace, and Wallace's car still is just not performing up to snuff. And Barry Dotson, of course, is the crew chief on this car. He's with Jerry Punch.
Possible problem with the Rusty Wallace car. Barry, what's the problem with the car?
He said a plug wire came off on the restart. He feels like it's what it is. It's only turning about 6,900. So hopefully we'll get a caution here in a little bit and try to get it back on.
So they are running with 7 cylinders in the Rusty Wallace car. The car is skipping and missing as it comes by us. We're going to try to hang on and get a yellow flag and come in. And hopefully it's just a plug wire, not an internal engine problem.
Boy, that is amazing for him to be running that well on 7 cylinders. We hope it is just a plug wire where they can stop and put it back on. He'll be back up to 8 cylinders. But he's not really losing a lot of ground on the racetrack. To open the hood and put on a plug wire probably is only another 10 seconds onto the pit stop. He shouldn't lose any more time on the racetrack. He still has that lap to make up, remember, so he needs all 8 cylinders to get his lap back, but he's doing real good holding his own right now.
Rusty, of course, was the points leader and has fallen to 3rd as Jeff Bodine in the number 5 car. Racing behind now, the Hardee's Oldsmobile driven by Dale Jarrett. Here comes Jeff to the inside.
Oh.
And Kyle Petty has hit the wall.
Richard Petty.
Richard Petty.
Boy, same type of thing, right front. He didn't hit it near as hard as Mark Martin or Ken Schrader. He's still able to control the car. He I think, was a little more prepared for it.
Well, the crash comes on lap number 72, and we saw evidence of tire problems at about lap 35 in the first section of this race. Who knows, maybe this could have been tire related also. Will not definitely state that, but only speculate. A lot of smoke is coming from that Richard Petty car as he's got it now to the inside of the racetrack in turn number 3, and our second caution of the afternoon flies on Dover. We'll take another look at it as Richard Petty had the misfortune up in the first and second turn areas.
Okay, so he goes into the turn, taking the normal groove, Bill Elliott down on the inside, and all of a sudden, just like Mark Martin's car, Richard Petty's car veers to the right, and he slaps the wall. Not as hard as Mark Martin hit it, as Gary pointed out, but still enough to do quite a bit of damage to the car. And here are the pit stops coming up. Bill Elliott, the first car in.
Yeah, the race right now is between Bill Elliott and Brett Bodine, who's pitted just ahead of Bill Elliott. The pits are really tight right now. Everybody's going to get 4 tires. Here's Alan Kulwicki getting 4 tires. Everybody trying to get 4 tires. Get another look at those tires. Let's go down to Jerry Punch and Rusty Wallace's pits.
Well, they raised the hood. That's Harold Elliott, the engine builder, on the right side of the car. They look down beneath trying to find that plug wire, and they're hoping to find a plug wire. That's all. Elliott's out, Kulwicki's out, so is Brett Bodine. But Rusty Wallace sits still in the pits with the Kodiak Pontiac. They have changed rod side tires, but the primary concern is in the engine compartment. Remember, Rusty currently 3rd in that Winston Cup point race, and he has had a couple of weeks. Hey, and it fires off all 8 cylinders. Rusty gives a big thumbs up, and now he pulls down and away. Let's get in here and get a comment from Harold Elliott as to what the problem actually was. Harold, was it a plug wire off? Yeah, he points at it with a plug wire off. They're going to bring Rusty back in.
So it was indeed a plug wire that has come off that car, but hopefully now Rusty will have all 8 cylinders and can make up the ground that he lost.
But one of the problems you can have with a plug wire, as we watch Darrell Waltrip making a pit stop, Rusty Wallace is going to be coming in right in front of him. A plug wire can get alongside of the header. The headers are so hot it can burn through the plug wire and ruin it. So they may be thinking about replacing that plug wire. These aren't steel plug wires. They're made of a carbon material.
You can see some weight being jacked there in the back end of Davey Allison's car.
Yeah, they did. This was breaking Davey Allison knee because he had really gone back through the field, as we see Rusty Wallace back in with the hood up. But this was a break for Davey Allison to correct the problem that he had, and they did that in tire stagger and also making an adjustment on the chassis of the car.
Well, what they are doing now, they're going to squirt some silicone around that plug wire, as Gary Nelson alluded to. They're going to try to insulate that wire from the heat of the valve cover where it runs down along the side of the engine. And Barry Dotson, realizing how hot that is, he had his hand down against that header pipe and got somewhat of a burn on his glove. Fortunately, he had a glove on that hand, but he did get quite hot. And they ground refired the car, and Rusty is down and away. Let's get a comment from Barry Dotson, who's sitting here on the wall. Barry, I know you got your hand against that header. Was the plug wire off?
Yeah, plug wire, we're coming back in.
Okay, he's talking to the driver right now. We'll try to get, is the hand all right, Barry? Is the hand okay?
It's burned.
It's burned, but he's busy right now, so we'll let him get to work.
I don't imagine he feels a bit of pain from that burn because he's most concerned about the Rusty Wallace car. Dick Bergman is also on pit road.
Well, Bob, the winningest active driver in Winston Cup racing here at Dover is in the pits with a torn up right front, and I mean torn up big time. 7-time winner Richard Petty. He's got a major problem. They just pushed him here with his engine silent. There was a wrecker behind him. He's not going to win this thing today, I am sure. But I will tell you there is good news up and down pit road. The tire situation seems to be stabilizing. In this last round of pit stops, I only saw 1 blistered tire, and it was not badly blistered. That is far better than what we saw on the first round of pit stops. So maybe Richard Childress is right. He's a pretty smart guy, and he sure knows his tires. Maybe when we get a little rubber down in this racetrack, we're going to be fine. I hope so.
Richard Petty has won this race 4 times. He has won on Dover Downs International Speedway a total of 7. Right now we are 77 laps into this 500-lap event here at Dover Downs International Speedway as we bring you live coverage this afternoon of Winston Cup racing. And we'll be right back with more in a moment. Back at Dover Downs International Speedway, and we'll be going green here in just another lap. Pit Central, meanwhile, Larry Newber has found Mark Martin.
Well, Mark, you've stepped over here where you have an opportunity to watch some of the race. It was a tire blowing like so many people have had the same problems already, yes?
Well, you know, it was just real unfortunate for the Strollite team. The car was running super. We had a real good chance to win this race. It was real early, and we were trying to take care of our stuff, but it didn't work out for us.
Mark, I've seen you walking around. You must be sorry. A car went in a ton, but you're not hurt in the classic sense.
Well, you know, I feel like I was really lucky. The car was safe, and I want to tell Arlene and Heather and Rachel and Stacy and Amy and everybody out there that I'm fine, and you know, we're going to go get them next week.
Well, Mark, we're just about ready to go back to green. You got to be sitting here thinking, what would be going through my mind if I were in a race car? These guys must not feel comfortable at this point in the race.
I'm sure that they're thinking that they're going to be taking it easy. It looks like they are. Nobody's going to be trying to lead the race real hard or keep the pace up too fast. You know, it's real important right now to not tear a tire up and lose a lap by having to stop and change it, or by tearing one up and not being able to feel it and have it blow out on you. So, you know, I think the racetrack's going to get better as they go.
All right, there is Terry Labonte in car number 11, and that car simply did not go. When the green flag came out, he dropped back significantly and now is coming in for a pit stop. The Junior Johnson Budweiser car is in with Labonte.
He might have a tire going down. I don't think it would be related to the problems that we have seen earlier as he goes into the pit area, but they are going to change the right side. Apparently one of the right side tires had just leaked down. Here's Morgan Shepherd trying to get his lap back. He made an unscheduled green flag pit stop trying to pass Brett Bodine to get back in the lead lap.
Brett Bodine is the leader of the race in car number 15. Morgan Shepherd is a lap down trying to get it back, and Bill Elliott is in second position there in the number 9. Mark, there's been a lot of speculation up and down pit road. We've talked about it here in the booth as to why we saw these tire problems in the first 35 laps. Can you tell us what your opinion is?
Well, I really can't. We haven't seen the kind of temperature that would cause this. I don't know. We didn't expect it. We didn't feel it. And I talked to Kenny Schrader. He said he didn't feel it either. We never dreamed of seeing anything like this, but we feel sure that the track's going to get easier, and they're going to have a fine race today, and I'm just real sorry that we can't be a part of it. You know, we want to win real bad for Strolight and for Jack Roush and all the guys that have worked so hard to put this deal together, and I think it's coming, but you know, we're disappointed that we don't have a shot at it today. The car was really fast.
Now, Mark, we're watching here Brett Bodine and Bill Elliott. Elliott, of course, ran with you when you were in the race. Does he appear to you to be the strongest man out there?
Bill was really strong early in the race. As it got going, you know, it looked like his car got tight and it started smoking the right front tire. And, you know, I started thinking about trying to pass him and tried to make a couple of moves on him and didn't quite make it. And my team called, Steve Meal called me and said, go easy, you know, just take it easy. And I slowed down a couple of laps, and then we had the problem. I think Bill's probably got him covered, and he's riding right now. He was probably as surprised as we were with you know, with what happened.
I think you're right, Mark. I think that we're seeing a lot of drivers sort of ride right now as they pushed Richard Petty's car into the pit area. Apparently that's going to be, or into the garage area. Apparently that'll be all for him today. Maybe much damage for him to get back in the race. And here's Bill Elliott moving around Morgan Shepherd.
The number 7 car there of Alan Kulwicki is third. So there you have Brett Bodine, the leader, and then Elliott and Alan Kulwicki. Look at this. Dale Jarrett, Jeff Bodine, Harry Gant, and the 21 car of Kyle Petty involved in a great tussle for position out of turn number 4.
Saw a lot of tire smoke come off the right rear of Jeff Bodine's car coming off the turn that time. When they have to hold it down on the low groove, it really causes you to turn the steering wheel a little harder. And there's a good shot of Jeff's car from the inside of Dale Jarrett's car. The right rear tire on Jeff's car was smoking quite heavily as he tried to get under Dale Jarrett. He's really trying hard right here. He wants to be able to use the whole racetrack. You can see him kind of fighting with the steering wheel. Boy, that is a great shot. That's live coming from the inside of one car to the inside of the other car.
Jeff on the inside, though, is about to lose that position to Kyle Petty, or at least Kyle is trying to take over that spot as they are wheel to wheel out there for the moment. Now Kyle inches ahead just a little bit.
So it looks like maybe the inside is not necessarily the place to be, but Kyle Petty's going to try the inside on Dale Jarrett.
Down the straightaway they come. The number 68 car, driven by Derry Cope, is right ahead of this group. He is not running with this contingent of cars. There's Jarrett down the back stretch. Here comes Kyle Petty and Jeff Bodine.
That is some close racing right there. That is amazing, the camera work that we see these days on the live TV. This is happening right before our eyes, out the window and on the screen. It's amazing.
Back to the leaders, meanwhile. It is still Brett Bodine who is in the lead, but look at Bill Elliott as he is closed in now with him about a car length and a half or 2 car lengths as they come down to complete lap number 90. And Alan Kulwicki is also not very far behind in 3rd position. Sterling Marlin is shown 4th in the serial, and 5th is Dale Earnhardt.
Bob, we mentioned at the top of the show that Ricky Rudd had won this race 2 years in a row, and he had won it. And this car number 15 that's leading the race now that belongs to Bud Moore out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. This has been a very good racetrack for Bud Moore. He's had wins with Benny Parsons and several other drivers over the years. He just simply knows how to set a car up to get around this racetrack.
It's got to be the best kept secret in the garage area. Whatever Bud Moore does at Dover, nobody else seems to be able to figure it out. No matter who drives Bud's car, the Bud's car goes to the front. If there's no power, he's been in the winner circle so many times with so many different drivers. It's just, I think it's one of the best kept secrets in the whole NASCAR history, because Bud Moore it's a given. You come to Dover, Bud Moore's car is going to be up front.
The fastest 4 qualifiers were in Fords, and right now the top 3 are also in Fords. Bodine, Bill Elliott, and Alan Kulwicki. We'll be back with more live coverage after this from Dover Downs. Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Gary Nelson, Dick Berggren, Jerry Punch, and Larry Nuber back at Dover Downs International Speedway for the Delaware 500 Winston Cup race. They're the top 3 right there running nose to tail. It's Brett Bodine leading, followed by Bill Elliott, and in 3rd position is Alan Kulwicki. We're almost a 5th of the way through this race, and for the highlights of the first 96 laps, here's Larry Nuber in pit central.
Bob, Dover is always full of surprises, but this is one surprise that we had no way of anticipating. Tire problems. There is second running Mark Martin. He loses a right front tire and goes immediately into the wall going into turn number 3. It was a very hard hit for Mark, although he did not sustain any injuries. And at the same time, at the other end of the racetrack, a tire won't go, a right front we assume, and Kenny Schrader has hit the wall in turn number 1. Both cars obviously eliminated from the event, but neither driver suffering injuries. As the green flag came back out again, Richard Petty was in front of then leader Bill Elliott. Petty trying to get his lap back, runs into the same exact problem that befell both Mark Martin and Kenny Schrader. Richard Petty has returned to the race. His car was not knocked out of the event. Inside the first 100 laps of this race here at the Monster Mile at Dover, this 500-lap race is quite a challenge to driver and crew alike. Out of race, Rodney Combs so far, Mark Martin, Ken Schrader, and Richard Petty. The following 3 are the last 3, of course, because of crashes. Rodney Combs had dropped out with mechanical difficulties just about 5 minutes before that first crash.
All right, thank you, Larry. And you can add to that race list the number 74 car of Randy LaJoy. Just as you were updating us on the cars that had dropped out, he too pulled behind the wall. So Randy LaJoy in number 74 is also out of the race now. We're beginning to see a challenge for 2nd position as Alan Kulwicki is really closing in on Bill Elliott. They go to the high side and pass some slower cars. The number 80 machine being driven this afternoon by Jimmy Horton. That's also the number 67 car coming down the backstretch. Elliott in 2nd. Alan Kulwicki is right there, though, in 3rd in car number 7.
3 Fords still up front. You know, we've been seeing the front of the field being paced by Fords all along, and here it is again. Even Kyle Petty in a Ford running very strong. I think that maybe there's more than, you know, we talked about horsepower briefly at the beginning of the show. Maybe the Fords had a different power curve, a different torque. But, you know, coming off the turn, like you can see here, Kyle Petty and Dale Jarrett. Dale Jarrett's pulling Kyle off the turn. So you know, Dale Jarrett maybe have the momentum, maybe the power, who knows. But in my opinion, I think that the Fords have a little bit better downforce. The aerodynamics on the rear of the car is pushing down better on the Fords than on the other models.
This is the battle for 8th position, by the way. It is Dale Jarrett and Kyle Petty. It seems as if Kyle will lose some on the straightaways, but then is able to pull in beside of Jarrett in the turns.
I think what Dale is doing is he's trying to conserve his tires as much as he can. He's running a little bit higher groove. He's running up 2nd, 3rd groove. Kyle's running down on the inside and running a little bit deeper into the turns than is Jarrett. And Jarrett has the momentum as he comes off of the turns, and that shoots him down the straightaway a little faster.
It's quite an ongoing argument almost as why the Fords seem to have better tracks than others, but I'm leaning more and more towards aerodynamics. You can almost see it in this shot here where Kyle Petty can pull up to Dale Jarrett in the turns, but when they get on the straightaway, can't quite do anything with them. Look at how low he went, all right down to the line. He's getting some traction. He's getting some, whether it's downforce or just chassis configuration, whatever it is, the car is sticking better in the turn.
And I think the outside groove is working better. Kyle has dropped back now. You see, he was trying to pass Dale Jarrett there a moment ago. And I think he heated his tires up and he said, hey, I better cool it a little bit. Meanwhile, Harry Gant is running that same high line that Dale Jarrett is, and that is traditional for Harry Gant here at the Dover Downs International Raceway. He loves to run up there, and it's working for him right now. And you see he's able to move around, or move around Jeff Bodine and up on Kyle Petty.
And that's the same set of circumstances we saw yesterday, Ned, in the Grand National race. Harry was the first to move up on the high groove.
He really likes to run high. And really, Gary, that puts a little less stress on the tires and the chassis of the car.
Well, you're right, Ned. You're running a bigger racetrack, especially if your car is loose. You do better up high. If the back end's trying to get out from under you when you turn the wheel, you know, that's what we call loose. If that's happening to your car and you run a little higher on the racetrack, you're not turning the wheel as much and the car doesn't tend to get as loose. But also, on the same token, you're running a longer racetrack. It's a bigger circumference around the racetrack.
And now we move inside Rick Wilson's car as he has the 83 Wins Kmart Oldsmobile driven by Lake Speed right ahead of him as they battle for position.
Some good racing going on in that pack of cars.
The number 31 car is right ahead of Lake Speed. That's being driven by Jim Sauter this afternoon, the pink Slender U Oldsmobile.
And right behind Rick Wilson is the car number 11 of Terry Labonte. Labonte made that unscheduled pit stop for a change of right side tires just after the green came out. And here's Davey Allison moving up. Now Davey is running much better than he did a while back. So evidently the problem that he had, the pushing problem he had, was cured during that pit stop.
Well, you can imagine Davey was really hoping for a yellow flag. He was losing so much ground, falling back in the field. And we really think Davey's got a competitive car, a good chance of being a contender late in this race. But with that bad tire problem or whatever it was that was causing his car to push, I'm sure he was really hoping for that caution. When Richard Petty hit the wall and causing that caution, Davey looks like he's got that problem cured now.
Yeah, he wasn't too far from being lapped at that particular point, but now he's certainly back in the thick of the battle.
Yes, you're right.
The Junior Johnson number 11 could very well be a Ford in 1989 competition, as Junior Johnson apparently is very definitely considering the use of in this series next year.
You know, that's an interesting comment, Bob. You know, people switch from one make to another make, and they always have a list of reasons why, what prompted them to do that. But when you look at the whole circuit, each track has its favorite model of cars. So when you go through the whole season, everybody's going to have a good chance all through the field.
We have completed 110 laps here at Dover Downs, and here are the top 15. There you see Brett Bodine, Bill Elliott, Alan Kulwicki, Sterling Marlin, and Mike Alexander.
Car in the wall up in turn 4. It's Derek Cope in the Pure Later Ford. He was running in 13th position.
He hit hard, or a tire blew or something, because we could hear the concussion here in the booth, and we're well enclosed from the racetrack noise, but he made pretty good contact with the wall. You can see him moving around in there, so he apparently is not injured, but that car did make heavy contact with the wall in turn number 4, and it brings out our third caution of the afternoon.
So it's a tough break for Derek Cope, who was running in the lead lap. He was running in the 13th position. We saw several cars passing Dale Jarrett, Harry Gant, and Jeff Bodine a while back, but he was in contention still in the lead lap when he had this misfortune.
You can see the place where he impacted the wall, and now we'll replay it and see what happened.
Okay, you can see him. He has already spun backwards into the wall. It looked like the right rear tire might have blown on the car and spun him around and into the wall backwards.
So there is Derek Cope's number 68 Pure Later car as the safety officials arrive at the scene of the crash.
And here's everybody coming into the pits,
including Brett Bodine at number 15, Bill Elliott at number 7. Dick Berggren is on pit road with Alan Kulwicki stopped.
And Alan Kulwicki is in. He's only got 2 full-time crew members this week. He lost one during the week. Most of the other teams have 17 or 18 full-time crew members. But these guys are, many of them, they're not pickup crew members, but they work hard at it. Brett Bodine down pit road, also in with Jerry Punch. Jerry?
Well, they've already put right side tires on. They're working on the left side, and it's a race, and then we'll get off pit road first. Here's Elliott and Bodine down. They almost collide on pit road, and Bill Elliott will win that race down pit road.
So Bill and D does get out first. There is Brett Bodine falling in right behind him. So we're going to have a change of leadership here when the green comes back out. That is assuming that neither car comes in for another stop. Meanwhile, it's going to take a few minutes here to get the Derek Cope car off the racetrack. He's had contact with the wall in turn number 4. We'll take a break and be right back with more from Dover. Back at Dover, third caution period of the afternoon. We're now 113 laps in. Derek Cope's car being pulled off of the racetrack in the turn 4 area. He has impacted the wall there. You can see him leaking some fluid down the racetrack, so the crew will have to clean that mess up before we go back to racing. Most everyone has come in for some pit stops. There you can see a couple of more peeling in the pits, including Ken Bouchard in car number 10 and Dave Marcus in car number 71. So the pace of the race is reduced here with Bill Elliott at the head of the field. You know, there are lots of unique aspects about this track they call the Monster Mile, and Jerry Punch reports on one of them in this Track Fact. Track Facts are brought to you by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
The nickname for this track at Dover Downs is the Incredible Mile. One of the more incredible features about this racetrack is behind me. That's an air-conditioned grandstand that actually serves as the main grandstand for the harness racing facility. Now, this track is actually a track inside a racetrack. The asphalt track for the stock cars on the outside and the harness facility on the inside. Another incredible feature is this back straightaway, banked nearly 18 degrees. It's almost the same as the banking in the turns. The turns are banked roughly 21 or 22 degrees. Another interesting feature here at Dover is this 6-foot concrete wall separates the backstretch from the harness track. In fact, the back straightaway is below ground level, some 6 feet below ground level. A very narrow apron separates what is the back straightaway from this concrete wall, which of course is the buttress for the harness racing facility. Doesn't leave much room for error here for a driver mistake in the backstretch.
We're glad you could join us on this Sunday afternoon for Winston Cup competition at Dover Downs International Speedway. We'll be right back with more coverage. We have just gone green to resume the Delaware 500 at Dover Downs, and the lead is held by Bill Elliott. That second car in line there is Morgan Shepherd in car number 88. He is not on the lead lap. Second is Brett Bodine, number 15, the third car in line there. Running in the third position would be Dale Earnhardt. Fourth is Sterling Marlin, and fifth is the number 12 car driven by Mike Alexander.
In sixth place is Alan Kulwicki. Dale Jarrett is seventh. And in eighth position is Bobby Hillen. Harry Gant runs ninth. And in 10th position is the car number 90, I believe, of Benny Parsons. No, make that number 83 of Lake Speed, and then Benny Parsons.
The number 11 car there of Terry Labonte is also trying to get a lap back. He is not on the leader lap. Running right behind Brett Bodine. 121 laps are completed now. The race beginning to settle down just a little bit after a very interesting beginning.
Oh, definitely. You know, we saw a real close race in the pits just before we went to this last commercial break. Brett Bodine came into the pits under caution, leading the race. Bill Elliott was in second place, and they were just almost inches apart leaving the pit area. But that's the difference right there on the racetrack. Bill Elliott now is the leader with one car between him, who was down on the inside on the restart. So Brett Bodine lost it in the pits, lost the lead in the pits, and now he is hanging in there in second.
And here is the number 3 car of Dale Earnhardt, the 44 of Sterling Marlin, and the 12 car of Mike Alexander. All of those cars are battling for the third position. Marlin right alongside of Mike Alexander, who's given that Miller High Life Buick a very good run.
Mike likes this racetrack. He drives it very well. He's had some good runs here in Busch Grand National competition. Now having a good run today in the Bobby Allison car.
And there is Alan Kulwicki, who has also joined the fight for this position. The average speed of the race has fallen because of the cautions to 106.012 miles an hour. Now Mike Alexander has taken away that position from Sterling Marlin, and here comes Alan Kulwicki to also try to get 4th spot, make that 5th spot as Alexander is in 4th, and now Alan Kulwicki on the inside, side by side, door handle to door handle with Sterling Marlin, and the number 29 car of Dale Jarrett is right behind this battle for position.
Doesn't look like Sterling Marlin's car number 44, the Piedmont Airlines car, is handling quite as good as it was before. Maybe he got a mismatched set of tires on that exchange during the caution period.
You can almost see as Sterling Marlin makes corrections on the steering wheel, the car kind of tries to drift out and he pulls it back down. Right there, you can see it as he's coming off the turn, he's correcting for it. He's right on the edge of traction. He's trying to hold on to that position, and these other cars seem to be just a little bit faster. There you see him trying the very low side on the racetrack, right against the line, drifting out against the wall. Now as he goes into this turn, he might try low again, might try high. He's still searching for whatever he can do to make that car go as fast as he can until he can get some more adjustments made.
Looks like the car might be a little bit loose, and when we use that term, that the back end might not be sticking quite as tight when he goes into the turn as he would like for it to.
Yeah, you're right, Ned. You can see the back end out farther than the front end, especially when you can compare it to that white line down on the bottom of the racetrack along the apron.
So Alan Kulwicki 5th, Sterling Marlin there in the blue and white Piedmont cars in 6th, and Dale Jarrett, with whom we are running right now, is in 7th position. And there is the lead, meanwhile, still being held by Bill Elliott, and Morgan Shepherd has been unable to pass him and get his lap back. You know, Mark Martin was the first car out of the race because of a crash. He was the pole sitter. Only 2 pole sitters have won the Delaware 500. Back in 76, Cale Yarborough, 73, Pearson. Side-by-side racing here as Mike Alexander has taken over the 3rd position from Dale Earnhardt, or at least he's trying to, about a half a car length now going into turn number 1. Earnhardt is trying to stave off the challenge, but and Alexander gets a little bit sideways, enough for Dale Earnhardt to get the nose back underneath Mike Alexander. A good battle here for 3rd spot as Earnhardt just won't give up.
Well, you can imagine Mike Alexander having the thrill of his life. He's really enjoying himself here. Dale Earnhardt's testing him, running close to him. He's building up the trust. Mike Alexander, fairly new to Winston Cup racing, but not new to stock car racing. So many years he's driven those Grand National cars. Now here he is passing Dale Earnhardt. That's got to be one of his dreams.
All of this in front of Dale Jarrett, the Hardys in car. Now we see Earnhardt losing 1 more position. Alexander has moved to 3rd. 4th now is Alan Kulwicki in number 7. And Sterling Marlin is about to take another position away from Dale Earnhardt. So Earnhardt may be having some trouble with that number 3 car as Morgan Shepherd is trying desperately to get his lap back and get around Bill Elliott. Their door handle to door handle into turn number 3 and 4.
Now Morgan is really having to punish his car, or the tires on it at least right now, but he has no choice but to do that. If he's going to get back and have a chance of winning this race, he's got to get back in the lead lap, and he knows that. So he's driving her hard trying to do that, but he's really punishing the tires.
It's almost as if he's bringing Brett Bodine along with him. Brett running a little lower right there on the racetrack than Bill Elliott. We'll have to watch. Brett was almost pulling away before the last caution. So Brett Bodine and Bill Elliott both look awful strong here.
I believe Bill Elliott is just running as fast as he feels he needs to at this point of the race. I don't think that he's punishing his car or his tires. He's just trying to ride. There's a long, long way to go yet, and he knows that that's what you have to do to win here at Dover, because he is a past winner here.
The starting position that has gotten us the most winners here at Dover Downs International Speedway is the 3rd starting spot, and Bill Elliott started 3rd in this race. The 12 car of Mike Alexander and the 7 car of Alan Kulwicki and the 44 of Sterling Marlin. Jerry Punch is watching this performance by Mike Alexander.
Well, I tell you, the Stavola brothers are really impressed with young Mike Alexander. The 31-year-old driver from Franklin, Tennessee, started back in 21st spot. He is now running 3rd, which you shouldn't be surprised because the Stavola cars always run well here at Dover, Delaware. Bobby Allison has won 7 times up here, and he has run so well in the past. Last week they announced that Mike Alexander would drive this car next year. And they will have a car available for Bobby Allison if recovery continues, and hopefully Bobby will be back next year. The Stavolas will have Bobby Hillen, Mike Alexander, and they will have the car for hopefully the leader of the Alabama gang, Bobby Allison, when he comes back. But an impressive performance right now. Mike Alexander running 3rd. Let's go to Nick Carter.
Kulwicki pit. Dick?
Well, I'm down here in the Rick Wilson pit, actually, Jerry, and what I'm watching is Wilson went out with a set of Hoosier tires a little while ago, but apparently they've decided they're not to their liking. They're going to bring Rick Wilson in, and they've got a set of Goodyear tires on the outside of the car. Larry Newber?
Well, Dick Allen is running very competitively in the top 5. You know, he almost won the pole here, so you look at Rick Wilson, who has come in for a pit stop, perhaps a precautionary tire change. And Dick Bergman is there. We'll go to Dick, come back and finish my comment when the pit stop's over. Dick?
Well, they have changed the outside tires on Wilson's car. They're going to have to change the inside. This was a very, very costly experiment to try a different set of tires, but they really felt that they had to give it a shot. They're the only team so far that has done so, but apparently it just hasn't worked. Rick Wilson's sitting here in the pit area. Wilson's now gone. Larry Newber, what's going on at your end?
Monitoring the scanner radios down here at our end, and we picked up the following facts. First of all, about the cars that we have been watching. Alan Kulwicki is not having the same tire problems. There he is on your screen. The Xerox number 7 is not having the same tire problems as all the other top teams have been having. And thinking back to Watkins Glen, when we had another serious tire problem on ESPN, the team that early in the race was not flashing great speed but was commenting that they were not having tire problems was Ricky Rudd. He went on to win that race. Now, a couple of other extraneous notes as we look at Alan Kulwicki going underneath of Mike Alexander. Sterling Marlin trying to follow through. Marlin on the inside there in the Piedmont Old, who's under young Mike Alexander. The number 67 car, Buddy Arrington's car, is being driven by Brad Teague today. They have tried Hoosier tires, and they have radioed back that they are having the same phenomenon with the Hoosiers that they had with the Goodyears, meaning they were expressing concern. And from Darrell Waltrip's pit, Jeff Hammond has radioed to Darrell. Time to pick it up, Darrell.
So the tire situation certainly is still very much a factor in this race. Let's take a look at the top 15 as we have them with 140 laps completed. It's Elliott, Bodine, Kulwicki, Marlin, and Mike Alexander in the top 5. 6 through 10, Earnhardt, Jarrett, Hillen, Speed, and Bodine. And then 11 through 15, Rudd, Gant, Sauter, Allison, and Petty. Back at the Delaware 500, and Morgan Shepherd at car number 88 has gotten his lap back. He was able to go underneath of Bill Elliott, and so we have another car on the lead lap. But the lead is held by Bill Elliott, and right behind him in second place, this Bud Moore prepared Ford Crisco sponsorship, and the driver is Brett Bodine from Chemung, New York. Now a whole bunch of racing going on in the top 15. That's Jim Sauter in the number 31 car, Jeff Bodine in number 5, Davey Allison in 28. Also in the group is the 21 car driven by Kyle Petty as they contest positions.
And the caution is out.
Yellow out on the racetrack for the 4th time. We don't see anybody in any trouble anywhere on the track. Perhaps just some debris or whatever. But anyway, the caution flag is being displayed by Harold Kinder. By the way, we have noticed that Ken Schrader in car number 25, who was involved in our first caution of the afternoon, he made some contact with the wall up in the first and second turns. He is back in the race, although the car looks a little bit more like a modified than it does a Winston Cup car. So the caution out again. We're going to see some wholesale pit stops, we believe, as here they come. Bill Elliott and Brett Bodine. Jerry Punch is in Bill Elliott's pits as he stops for his routine maintenance. Go ahead, Jerry.
We'll watch this race on pit road again. Remember, Bill Elliott won it last time. He and Brett Bodine. They will go to the right side of the car. They already have the right side tires off. Alan Kulwicki's then taking right side tires as well. The jack off on the right side for Elliott comes around to the left side. Left side tires now coming off of the Bill Elliott's car. They put those tires on. Now they're going to the left side of the Alan Kulwicki Xerox car, but Elliott's car off the jack. Great pit stop for Bill Elliott. He's the first one down. Brett Bodine leaves, and they are still working on Alan Kulwicki's car. His car getting left side tires, still on the jack, and now he is down. Alan Kulwicki will pull back down pit road.
Look like just about identically timed pit stops there by Bill Elliott and Brett Bodine. Elliott got out first. Kyle Petty is going back out. So is Jeff Bodine. So is Ricky Rudd. And that is the group that we were following there as the yellow came out on the racetrack.
And the reason for the yellow, Bob, is that there was a piece of metal on the front straightaway just coming off of turn 4.
So that was the reason for our 4th caution.
Something coming out of Bill Elliott's car, it looks like, as he comes off of the turn. It might have been fuel, maybe just from the overflow, but there definitely was some fluid coming from the back of the car. It looks okay now, so we'll check it out after a little bit.
And so Bill Elliott is going to see if that could be a problem indeed. Now remember, Morgan Shepherd had gotten his lap back, and the yellow came out, of course, and he now is positioned on the back leg. And there, as I told you a few minutes ago, is the number 25 car of Ken Schrader that is back on the racetrack, despite the fact that it's got some damage on the right side and on the front of the car. We'll be right back. Speed World today at Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware for the Delaware 500 Winston Cup race. Being brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. By Xerox, the antifreeze coolant for extreme conditions. By Purolator, the first name in filters for Pure Oil now and Pure Oil later. It's Purolator. And by Wagner Halogen Headlights, the only headlights with a lifetime warranty. The crowd rises to its feet once again as the green flag is about to come out over Dover Downs once again to resume our competition. Harold Kinder displays the green, and Bill Elliott leads him down for the restart.
And as they got the green flag, Michael Waltrip in the Country Time Lemonade car number 30 got the black flag, so apparently there was a rule violation as far as he was concerned, so Michael Waltrip will have to come in for at least a stop-and-go penalty.
Looking out the back glass of the in-car camera that we have, we're looking from the car driven by Rick Wilson.
Another one of those situations where Bill Elliott just barely beats Brett Bodine out of the pit. You know, we've been talking about Dale Earnhardt's pit crew for a couple of years now, but some of the other very good pit crews belong to Bill Elliott, Brett Bodine, and Rusty Wallace. They're so close, it's almost hard to tell the difference on them. But Brett Bodine getting beat out of the pit just slightly, then he gets a lap car in between them, and he has a little bit of racing to do to catch back up.
And Earnhardt's crew continues to do good work, Gary, in the pits. He went in running in 7th position, came out running 3rd.
Now the number 4 car of Rick Wilson is not on the leader lap. He is running the high side of the racetrack. Brett Bodine, number 15, is 2nd. And Terry Labonte, that you're looking at right now out the back glass of the Kodak car, is also not on the lead lap. And there we can see now the movement of Brett Bodine as he tries to move to the inside and pass Rick Wilson, but has not been able to do so far.
That inside, it's tough to pass down there today for some reason. The higher groove just seems to be working better.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt moving right in there too. You know, NASCAR, the way NASCAR restarts the races, the cars in the lead lap have to be on the outside, and anybody who is a 1 or more laps down lines up on the inside. That kind of bunches things up, and it really, in a lot of cases, gives the leader, the guy who comes out of the pits first, gives him a break on the start, because that lap traffic is trying to get their laps back, especially early in the race like this. They're going to race trying to be in a position to gain a lap back if the yellow comes out. So that makes it tough for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th place cars to deal with that lap traffic while the leader's pulling away with clear sailing.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt moving to the inside of Rick Wilson. Now Dale is in 3rd position. He is actually 4th in line there, but he is in 3rd spot. And right behind him is Rusty Wallace, who is also not on the lead lap. And speaking of not being on the lead lap, Ken Schrader, as we saw before we went to commercial, is back in the race. He has a deficit of 110 laps to make up. Probably will not be a winner here this afternoon. Dale Earnhardt, the defending Winston Cup champion, who has moved to 2nd in Winston Cup points in 1988. Running 3rd here this afternoon with 157 laps completed. Ned asked him earlier, has this been one of your better tracks, or do you consider it one of your worst tracks?
Well, I hadn't, Ned. I run real good here at times, but seem not to finish good here. I think it's my worst racetrack on the schedule right now as far as finishes, but I enjoy racing here. I don't have any problems running here with the car and everything. We're just, you know, just getting to the end of the race is my biggest problem. It's a tough race. We always seem to have little problems or tires or something. So hopefully we got a good combination for this weekend. We'll be okay.
Never finished 500 miles here at Dover, looking to do so for the first time in his career this afternoon. Dale Earnhardt from Kannapolis, North Carolina. He's still struggling to pass Rick Wilson here.
But you know, people talk about different tracks and different things. There are so many variables that go into winning nowadays in Winston Cup racing. You think about Dale Earnhardt, he just dominates on some tracks. Bristol, for example, just goes away. And here we have Bill Elliott dominating here at Dover so far in this race. This is really a Bill Elliott track. This is rumored to be, I think it's a pretty true rumor, to be a Ford track. So Bill Elliott has a combination this week on this particular racetrack. Then, you know, next week we go to Martinsville, maybe somebody else, maybe it's a Dale Earnhardt type track, maybe a Rusty Wallace type track. It just shuffles back and forth. That's what makes this competition so interesting throughout the season.
Fellas, I think that we're seeing Dale Earnhardt drive a different kind of a race here today than we normally see Dale Earnhardt drive. I believe that he is absolutely determined to try to finish this race and have his shot to win at the end of the race.
And this brings up the thing that you talked about in the very beginning, Gary, and that is saving the engine. It is measured in terms of minutes and hours, and so it really doesn't matter how many miles you run. It's the length of the time that's most important.
You're right, Bob. You know, while we were watching that interview with Dale Earnhardt, you can almost see the gears turning inside of his head while he's thinking about what he's saying. You know, he said, I've never finished the 500 miles here. I always seem to have trouble getting to the end. He was thinking about that very thing while he was saying it, and I think he's thinking about it right now. There's a lot of time involved in this race from start to finish. Over 4 hours from the time that you start your engine to the time you shut it off at the end of the race, and you've completed 500 miles. There's a lot of tracks where you complete 500 miles in 3 or 3.5 hours. So there's a lot more stress for a lot longer time on the engines here at Dover.
So Dale Earnhardt is entrenched in third position at the moment, and what was a very cloudy, overcast, and gray day is suddenly becoming a very pleasant afternoon as the skies are beginning to clear off and the sun is beginning to poke its head through these clouds here in Delaware.
Bob, let me give a call to number 2 son Dale Jarrett. He came out of the pits running in 6th position. He's moved around Mike Alexander now, taken over 5th. He just moved around Sterling Marlin and has taken over 4th. Dale is having absolutely the best run of his Winston Cup career.
Well, that car does look good going through the turns there, Ned. You know, he is running a pretty smooth line. He's running a little higher than most of the others, but he's running an awful smooth line. And I think that well, right now, as I said, he runs down on the bottom. But as we watched him earlier in the race, he was running a little higher, and that's kind of a more conservative, let's wait around to the finish type attitude, I think, that he's approaching this race with.
There's the number 3 car right ahead of him, and now we see out back of the Kodak car, and that is Darrell Jarrett right behind the Rick Wilson car. So indeed, Jarrett in a fine run here, running 4th with 165 laps complete. We'll be back in just a moment after this. We're back at the Delaware 500, where Bill Elliott continues to lead this race with Brett Bodine in 2nd position. There is Elliott crossing the stripe and completing lap number 169. Brett Bodine is not too far behind. In fact, is staying right up there with Bill Elliott. There he is, Bodine, car number 15.
Brett is running a very good, smart race here today. He's been in the top 5 most of the afternoon, kept himself in contention, led the race for a while, doing what he needs to do. And looks like he's slowing down right now as we talk about him. Pulls to the inside of the racetrack. Evidently he lost a cylinder or something. Too bad for Brett Bodine, as we were just talking about what a good run he was having.
He was headed for the pits. He was turning towards the pits, and he turned out like maybe there's something on. Maybe there's some reason Bud told him to do something, turn around one of the switches, try a few other things before actually coming into the pits. But he is slowing down. Bill Elliott now has a little bit of a break, but we'll have to see what Brett Bodine's problem is, because he still could come back.
Well, it's a tough break, as you can see everybody passing him and Brett limping to the pit area. Jerry Punch is in his pit and can tell us what's going on. Jerry?
Well, we are told they have broken an axle, or may have broken an axle. He is making his way down pit road, and he continues on by, and he will make his way to the garage area. We have Greg Moore with us here. Greg, what seems to be the problem?
Jerry, it seemed that we broke an axle or something in the rear end. Just one wheel's on the one wheel's pulling. We don't really know. We're going to go in here and fix it.
That's Greg Moore, who's the son of Bud Moore. They will go in and try to work with the car, and Ernie Elliott comes over and talks to Greg Moore and wishes him well, and they will go in and try to get the car fixed and get Brett Bodine back on the speedway.
Tough
brake.
Common problem, Gary, broken axle?
No, not common at all. And I really kind of doubt if it is a broken axle. I don't, you know, the way the car acted, I've seen cars with broken axles run a lot faster than Brett was running. He does have a serious problem, obviously, but we'll have to watch and see what they discover.
Bill Elliott now with about a 4-second lead over Dale Earnhardt, who is running in second place. Dale Jarrett is now moving up on Dale Earnhardt, about 4 or 5 car lengths behind him.
Rick Wilson is also slowing down. He's got his hand in the air, signaling to the drivers behind him. So the Kodak car is also in trouble here and dropping to the apron, now entering the pit area. Rick Wilson is in for an unscheduled pit stop. Let's see what this is all about, whether it's just a tire or whether they're going to raise the hood on the car. He slows it down, gets it stopped. They go to work on the right side, changing the rubber over there. No indication that there's a problem within the engine compartment. Jerry Punch can tell us perhaps.
Well, Tony Glover and the rest of the Kodak crew are changing right side tires. Apparently, they looked at the car, and it must have been a right front tire. And they have this Wilson car down the way, and Wilson will head back on the speedway. Let's go to Dick Bergeron. Dick?
Well, Jerry, I'm in the garage area with Brett Bodine. Brett, you just stood on the gas hard. Your mechanics watched, and only the right rear tire left a tire mark. What does that mean?
Well, it looks like we broke an axle, Dick. I just can't believe it. I really thought today was going to be our day. You know, as good as the car was running and Bill and I just pulling away from everybody, it was a 2-car race. And I just hate it for everybody. I don't know what I got to do to win a race, but we're going to win one before the year's over.
You're looking at the face of bitter disappointment. Brett Bodine had his hands in his face just a few moments ago. He absolutely couldn't believe he was out of it.
He was running so well, and our hats off to him, but it's just one of those unfortunate set of circumstances that occur during the heat of battle. So Bill Elliott now has a little bit of breathing room. He is definitely in the lead, and Dale Earnhardt now is second. Now, if we continue to see a repeat of what we have seen so far, we'll be looking for pit stops and perhaps drivers running into some tire problems within about 5 laps. So when we return, we'll develop that story for you from the Delaware 500. Bill Elliott continues to lead the Delaware 500. In second position, however, we have a change of position there as Dale Jarrett has moved around Dale Earnhardt. And I don't know whether there is exuberance within the Dale Jarrett car, but there certainly is on behalf of Father in the booth.
Well, it's good to see him running as well as he is today, and particularly up towards the front and moving around a driver such as Dale Earnhardt. So Dale Jarrett takes the measure of Earnhardt coming off of turn 2 down the back stretch, just moves right on in turn 3 and moves around.
And on the racetrack, there is Dale Jarrett, and it has been a steady progression from his starting position to his current second place status. He started the race in 17th. At the end of 50 laps, he was 13th, moved up to 12th at the end of 75. At the end of 150 laps, he was 6th. And now, with 183 laps completed, Dale Jarrett is running in second position. The number 26 car is in the pit area. That's Ricky Rudd. He is in and out of the pits, by the way. We're beginning to see some stops, as we predicted, as Terry Labonte is also in for a pit stop. And further up pit road toward turn number 4, Brad Knopfsinger is in the number 98 Sunoco-sponsored car.
We had word that Ricky Rudd might have had a tire problem. Now, remember, early in the race, he was one of the first ones that had blistered a tire, and he came in. And we hear that maybe he might have had a similar situation now. The sun is shining here at Dover this afternoon. Now, it was overcast when we first started this race, but the sun is out now. And Gary, that could make a difference in the tire temperature situation.
But you sure are right. You know, with the cool temperatures, the overcast skies that we started the race with, we have only one problem to worry about, and that was the rain that had washed the rubber off the track, causing the tires to overheat. That started correcting itself and getting better and better as we went. Now the sun's coming out. The track temperature is going to be much higher.
Dale Earnhardt is pitting under green as Bill Elliott continues to lead. And there is the Richard Childress Kirk Shelverdine crew changing rubber on the right side of that car. Jerry Punch can call the stop.
Well, the Goodrich crew's changing rubber on the right side of the Chevrolet. They pull the jack. Dale Earnhardt down and away in 11.7 seconds. That is a quick pit stop, gentlemen.
That's the kind of performance that's made him a champion for the last couple of years.
Very strong performance by that pit crew as Earnhardt begins to pick up speed. There is the leader, Bill Elliott, staying out there. not choosing to come in for another pit stop at the moment.
Benny Parsons made a pit stop also in Bullseye Barbecue Sauce Ford. We haven't heard much of Benny. He has run a good race today, good steady race. He was in the lead lap before he made this green flag pit stop. That will put him a lap down, but others will have to come back and make a pit stop before too long. Earnhardt went a lap down too.
Well, you know, we were talking about the track temperature rising, especially as the sun's coming out here recently. What that does, it changes the handling on the car. A car that was running, say, neutral before the sun came out and the temperature started coming up is now going to find itself a little looser. So these guys are going to have to adjust as they come into the pits and make their pit stops for the changing track conditions. All along, more and more rubber is going down on the racetrack, and that's also changing the track. All of these cars are going to be shuffling back and forth for the next 100 or 200 laps, trying to hit on that magic setup and trying to predict what the conditions are going to be at the end.
Everything working well for Bill Elliott. There is Dale Jarrett in second in the 29 car. Sterling Marlin is at the moment in third position. There's the interval between first and second. You can see that Dale has quite a bit of distance between himself and the leader, Bill Elliott, as Elliott comes off of corner number 4 and completes lap number 192.
He's running about 7 seconds ahead of Dale Jarrett at the moment. Another of the front runners, Lake Speed, is just completing a pit stop to change right side tires on his Kmart Lynn Special and heads back out. Car number 98, we saw him go by. They've been pushing that car down pit road, apparently headed for the garage area. Brad Knopfsinger, the driver, one of the rookie contenders on the Western Cup circuit this year.
Jerry Punch is in Ricky Rudd's pit. Jerry, another tire problem for Rick?
Well, we're seeing more and more problems, Bob. In fact, these pit stops are really unscheduled stops for the majority of these guys. This is the right front tire off Ricky Rudd's Quaker St. Buick. You see where my ink pen, this is all canvas. The rubber is completely gone, just disintegrated, as Larry McGriddle said. That our right front tire just blew apart. Take a look at it. Boy, did we ever. And a lot of crew chiefs that come over here and looked at this tire and just shook their heads and said, hey, what are we going to do now? So a lot of unscheduled pit stops and a lot of concern, primarily because the sun came out and it's heating up here at Dover, as we can see with this tire. Gentlemen?
So we did anticipate a tire problem a few laps ago, and indeed it is occurring, at least on the number 26 car, driven by Ricky Rudd. But no problems at the moment for the number 9 car of Bill Elliott, but Harry Gant is coming in for a pit stop as the Travis Carter crew goes to work on it, changing the rubber on the right side.
Gant was running in the 11th position before he came into the pits.
The number 17 car of Darrell Waltrip also in. All of this occurring under green flag conditions. Making as quick a pit stops as possible. Darrell's back out.
And Alan Kulwicki comes in. Alan Kulwicki was running in the 5th position before he came into pits. Let's go to Dick Berggren in his pits.
And every trading up and down pit road is ready to do a pit stop. Kulwicki is in. Everybody's pretty much doing the same thing, taking on right side tires. I've seen a few blistered tires, but I've seen more that are not blistered than are. Unfortunately, Kulwicki's right front is one that's got a huge blister in it. Got 3 inches in diameter.
So perhaps we're not seeing as much of a tire problem, but there is still evidence of that, as Alan Kulwicki and Ricky Rudd, we know of, have had blistered tires here in just the last few laps.
Boy, it's so close to the edge. You know, the little bit of rain, or well, it was a pretty hard rain last night, affected the early stages of the race. Then things started getting better. Now the sun's affecting it again. And really, these crew chiefs are really aware of what's going on. The drivers are aware of it. They know that you can make a pit stop early in the race like this, or even before the middle stages of the race, and get that ground back. But you can't get the ground back if your car runs into the wall. So they are going to be a lot more conservative in this stage of the race.
Here's a good battle for the 3rd position. That's Sterling Marlin, about to be passed by the car number 12 of Mike Alexander, but Alexander couldn't make the pass that time.
So Sterling Marlin in car number 44 and Mike Alexander battle it out for 3rd spot here. Down the backstretch, Marlin holding on to 3rd as Mike Alexander is trying to take over that position. Bobby Allison has got to have a smile on his face as he recuperates in Alabama from his Pocono injury, seeing a fine performance in his car by Mike Alexander.
Bob, car number 31, Jim Sauter, is being given the black flag at the moment. He might have some leaking fluid from that car, and NASCAR is trying to get him into the pits as Phil Parsons comes in. The Full Crown Classic Oldsmobile. Phil was running in the 7th position.
You know, Bob, you were talking about Bobby Allison, and you know, the time I spent with Bobby Allison, we won 3 races here at Dover, and if there was ever a track suited to a driver, this Dover track was suited to Bobby Allison's style. He would just cruise along, a lot like what Bill Elliott's doing now, lead the race, maybe run second, maybe run third, but he was always so confident when we came here to Dover. We really miss you, Bobby. We hope you come back soon.
That's seconded by everybody on the ESPN staff. There is Elliott, and he is just running away with things at the moment. Is going to need a pit stop before too long. What do you think, guys?
Well, he has not abused his tires. He has run a good line. He has run fast, but still he has not had to abuse his tires. He's been running out front there, picking his way around the traffic, and don't think that he'd have to stop for a while yet as far as fuel is concerned, so he might be able to go another 15 or 20 laps.
Yeah, I would think so, Ned. Bill Elliott is really has a good feel for the car. He knows when he's abusing his tires. He's been taking it pretty easy and still being able to maintain that pace that nobody else seems to be able to keep up with. So Bill Elliott's car is obviously working better. I think Bill Elliott is really in a comfortable position.
Here's that battle for third once again. It is a good one as Marlin and Mike Alexander go at it tooth and nail. Alexander moving to the inside in corner number 4. They come off the straightaway side by side at the line. Mike Alexander has a nose ahead of Marlin, but as they go into the corner, yes, it is Mike Alexander who is able to pass Sterling Marlin, and Alexander goes to third.
Those are Tennessee neighbors. Mike Alexander from Franklin, Tennessee, a suburb of Nashville, and Sterling Marlin from Columbia, Tennessee, also a suburb of Nashville.
Well, Jerry punches down in the pit area, and Jerry, was it indeed a broken axle that has caused Brett Bodine to go behind the wall?
No doubt about it, Bob. Take a look. This is what's left of the axle, the rear axle in a Brett Bodine Crisco Ford. And I tell you, the guys up in the booth, Jerry Nelson and Ned, have you ever seen one chewed up this bad? I mean, what a break for Bud Moore and the Brett Bodine team. They had a car running so well, and this is what put them out. Rear axle completely gone.
Oh, we have a spin in turn number 4 on the inside of the track. Well, almost a spin, a half spin at least, as Davey Allison got sideways. He'll drive it back onto the racetrack, however, and I don't think we're going to have a yellow because Davey got the car headed in the right direction and everything is okay, but a close moment. Now the yellow does come out from Harold Kinder.
Well, Dale Jarrett had just come into the pits, and his pit crew said go on back out because the yellow flag is coming out, and so he gets out just in front of Bill Elliott, so apparently he'll stay in the lead lap.
And here it is again, Ned.
Well, I saw when Davey pulled out of it, his right rear tire was flat. I don't know if that caused it or not.
Probably did. It looks like that the back end just spun around on him. There's Jim Sauter right behind him. Davey does a good job of handling the car down on the flat surface of the track. He actually gets down on the grass.
And as Ned said, Dale was in the pits when that incident occurred, but drove right on through knowing that the yellow was going to come out. Of course, he didn't want to get caught in the pits and lose a lap. So here come the leaders now as the caution is out, and Bill Elliott is the first to come in. Jerry Punch will call this stop in Bill's pit.
Well, Bill Elliott brings the Coors forward to a halt, and they will go to work on the right side of the car. We would expect to see a 4-tire change, and they will look closely at this tires coming off the Elliott car. Now, they were contemplating about bringing him in about 4 or 5 laps anyway to take a look at the tires. They were concerned after watching some of the other crews unscheduled stops. Left side tire now going on as Ernie Elliott climbs over and makes a major chassis adjustment. Elliott's car down and away. Great pit stop. He's the first car back on the speedway. Davey Allison is in likewise, getting tire change on the Haviland Ford. Here is Mike Alexander, a number of cars, everyone on pit road for 4 tires. Gentlemen,
watching the Davey Allison pit stop as they continue to work on that count. Now there he goes away. So we see him getting away. So is Alan Kulwicki. Dale Jarrett is still in the pits as they're changing left side rubber on his car. But there is Davey Allison, rather, who was responsible for this caution period, our 5th of the afternoon, when he did a half spin on the inside of the racetrack in corner number 4. We'll be back with more right after this. As you can see, the skies have begun to part, and we can see some blue now, as earlier today we had heavy overcast and overnight some heavy rain, but things are looking very, very well here as we are nearing the halfway point of this Delaware 500, and Larry Nuber is in pit central.
This goes back to where the problems began. You see Mark Martin, who has led
who had run second in this race to Bill Elliott for the first few laps of this race, was the first one to crash. At the very same time as Mark was crashing at the north end of the racetrack, this was taking place at the south end of the racetrack. Believe it or not, Kenny Schrader's crew got this car repaired, and they are back out onto the course. Now, since that time, the tire problems have lessened, but we haven't had nearly the problems that we had in the early stages. The sun has come out. As you can see, the King, Richard Petty, was the next one to be involved in one of these crashes caused by a right front tire blowing. Here's another angle of the shot from the in-car camera. Derek Cope was another victim of the tire problems, as he too crashed at the fourth turn or the north turn end of the racetrack. And then there was the Davey Allison situation. Yet to get a confirmation on what caused this particular spin, we speculate a right rear tire as heavy smoke barrels out from underneath the 28 car. So the tire situation perhaps is stabilized. Certainly it's not as severe as it was in the early stages here at Dover. 500 laps. As you can see, we've only completed 2/5 of this race, 200 down.
Track is still under caution as 211 laps have been completed. There you can see Harold Kender still displaying the yellow. Now, here's a situation from inside Dale Jarrett's car as he was coming in for a pit stop, Ned.
And he had the right rear tire going down on that car, but you can see the crew move and say, go on, go on. That was at the same time that Davey Allison was about to spin between turn 3 and 4. So they said, go on out. They anticipated a caution, sent him back out. Fortunately for him, he did stay in the lead lap.
Yes, he was able to stay on the lead lap, and he is in 4th position. But as I indicated, the yellow flag is still out on Dover Downs, so we'll take another break and be right back in just a moment. Back under green at Dover Downs International Speedway, where Bill Elliott has opened up quite a lead now. Second place is Mike Alexander in car number 12. Both the number 3 car of Dale Earnhardt and the 27 car of Rusty Wallace are not on the lead lap, but there is Mike trying to move to the inside of Rusty Wallace. Mike is in 2nd position. There may have been some contact there. And in 3rd spot is the yellow and white car number 5, driven by Jeff Bodine. So he moves up now to try to challenge Mike Alexander for 2nd. Running in 4th position is Sterling Marlin. 5th is Dale Jarrett. 6th is Kyle Petty. And in 7th position is Davey Allison. And although he had that half spin down there in turn number 4, he did not lose a lap and is shown in 7th spot right now.
And those are the only 7 cars that we're showing on the lead lap. Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, and several others have made green flag pit stops, so they are at least 1 lap down. In fact, Rusty Wallace should be 2 laps down because he's made 2 green flag pit stops.
Yeah, we lost a lot of cars off the lead lap in that last segment there under green, just before Davey's spin. A lot of cars had made their pit stops that were in the lead lap, and then they were unfortunate enough when Davey spun, the yellow came out, they lost that down.
Well, Mike Alexander in just a little bit of trouble here as he has lost 2nd now to Jeff Bodine and is about to lose 3rd to the 44 car of Sterling Marlin. Marlin to the inside of Mike Alexander, coming out of corner number 2 down the backstretch. Doesn't look like to be a challenge for that position right now as Marlin begins to drop back just a little bit as he is challenged by the number 55 car, but the 55 car of Parsons, Phil Parsons, not on the same lap as Sterling is.
Phil had made a green flag pit stop not too long before the caution came out.
I wanted to talk about the broken axle on Brett Bodine's car that Jerry showed us a few minutes ago. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. Gary, that is not a common thing, and this is not a rough racetrack. How do you explain what happened?
But when I saw the axle on the the man was holding it on the screen there, it was a hollow axle. That was a gun-drilled axle. You know, they came out with those in about 1982 or 83, and they did it to make them lighter. But the Winston Cup cars had failures when they first came out with them, and just about everybody that I know of had quit running the hollow axle. I was really surprised to see that Bud Moore was still trying to use it because the weight savings is so little compared to the risk of it breaking. So now, I've never seen a solid axle break, but I've seen plenty of the hollow ones in Winston Cup competition break.
That surprised me too, Gary. I had never seen one. I had no idea that they ever ran a hollow axle in a race car.
It's gun drilled. What it is like the size of a musket ball. I think it was 80 caliber. They actually rifle drilled those axles to make them lighter. It works really well on the short track cars, the lighter cars, dirt track cars, but these Winston Cup cars just put so much power down that they've broken those.
Tremendous battle here for second place. Jeff Bodine holds on to it, but Now Mike Alexander trying to move back into second as he moves up on the inside of Jeff Bodine.
This is a great battle for that second position. Bill Elliott is the leader, but then Jeff Bodine in car number 5 and Mike Alexander in number 12 are slugging it out there. Now you can see how, as we mentioned earlier, the groove is moving up on the racetrack. Bodine and Phil Parsons both way up in the high groove, especially through turns number 1 and 2. You can see that Phil almost gets the right side of the tires up into the gray area, and now Mike Alexander is losing just a little bit as he drops back behind Phil Parsons.
It looks like Jeff Bodine, he's still feeling his way around. He started off just after this caution period when we went to green, running right up on the edge of that gray line, right where that goes, where the rubber, you can see right into the turn where it turns kind of gray. Jeff was right on the edge of that. Now he's moved down just a few feet, and Phil Parsons is trying to get up a little higher. So these guys are still trying to find the most comfortable place to run and still run fast.
Jerry has that axle on the Brett Bodine car. Jerry, show it to us again, if you would, please.
Well, gentlemen, you see we're talking about it's a hollow axle. I think it actually split lengthwise, then it sheared off. Take a look inside. Looking down the end of the rifle barrel. There's an opening in the end here. I stick my ink pen down inside. It's completely hollow. A completely hollow tube. And, of course, it is rifled on the end as an axle, and it split lengthwise and then sheared off. A casualty for Brett Bodine.
Boy, what a tough break. You know, that, like we said a minute ago, that had come out several years ago. I was very surprised Bud Moore still runs it.
Well, so of course, Brett Bodine is back out on the racetrack now. They have put another axle in it. He's back out there, but many laps down.
He was running in second position, had a good run going. He started the race from 4th, but that broken axle did put him in the pit area and behind the wall for quite some time. Now here's a battle shaping up between the number 44 car of Sterling Marlin and Dale Jarrett, and this would be for 4th position.
And you can see Mike Alexander in the 12 car, the gold car just ahead of them. He's running in 3rd place, and just at the left of your screen is the yellow car of Jeff Bodine. He is running in 2nd place. So 2nd through 5th, very tight battle.
Indeed it is, but for the moment, Bill Elliott is streaking away from everybody as he has now almost a full straightaway lead on everybody else that's running behind him. Jeff Bodine in 2nd place. Well, we've mentioned how you've got to be conservative on the engine. It doesn't make any difference how many miles, but rather the time that you put on the engine. Is perhaps Bill Elliott's putting a little bit too much on that engine, at least at this point in the race?
Well, you know, at the end of the race, if Bill Elliott's still running, we can say he drove a very smart race. But if something happens to him, obviously we can say you didn't need that big of a lead before even the halfway point of the race. I think Bill Elliott has really become a very smart driver. He is the leader in the points, and he got that lead by being consistent. And not only just consistent, but consistently fast. So he's comfortable right now. I feel pretty happy with what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't think he's abusing the car right now. It's working so well, just running so fast. And really, the lap time, he just turned to 26.15 in seconds. The other cars back there are running about 26.25. So he's only gaining about a 1/10 of a second a lap. But that is about a 1/2 a second slower than he was running earlier in the race.
So we're 19 laps now from the halfway point of this Delaware 500, and Bill Elliott is in the lead as a huge crowd looks on here in Delaware. Bill Elliott's crew looks on as he leads this Delaware 500. Fords have won the last 4 races in a row here at Dover, and Fords have won the last 5 of 8 events on the 1988 Winston Cup schedule. Well, is Bill Elliott being conservative, or is he going for all it's worth? We ask him, are you more conscious of the point battle now that it has tightened up so much in Winston Cup competition?
You know, the thing of it is we really are not that concerned with what's happening later on down the road. We just try to get racing at a time. You know, we've been running good everywhere we've been so far, but yet, you know, anything can happen. This is what happened to Rusty last week at Richmond. You know, you get in a bad situation or a circumstance happen that catches you down, you know, that can knock you out of the points race. But still, you know, we're going to try to run the best we can. That's all we're going to do.
Bill Elliott, who is indeed the Winston Cup points leader and looking for his first Winston Cup championship. Despite his tremendous season back in 1985, he did not win the championship, but this year, because of consistency, Bill Elliott is indeed in the points lead by 117 over Dale Earnhardt. Rusty Wallace is third in points, 119 points behind. Terry Labonte and Ken Schrader are fourth and fifth in the points battle.
Well, the points are going to get shuffled again after today, you know, with Ken Schrader dropping back and Rusty Wallace hit and missed. You know, he was on 7 cylinders, had a couple of tire problems. Really, he needs to be consistent and hopefully hope for a top 5 finish at the end of the day, but he definitely had his trouble. Dale Earnhardt kind of struggling also. It's going to shuffle the point system, that's for sure.
We're beginning to see a few more pit stops made now as we concentrate on the activity on the racetrack as Bill Elliott encircles this 1-mile track as both Rick Wilson and Eddie Bierschwale are in the pits. Meanwhile, back in the pack, the better battles are, of course, going on behind Bill Elliott. And there is the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine, the number 44 car of Sterling Marlin, and the 29 of Dale Jarrett. And the number 12 car of Mike Alexander is in second. So we have second, third, fourth, and fifth right here, separated by just a little bit. And we'll try to give you an indication of how far they are behind. It is a pretty substantial lead, though, for Bill Elliott at the moment.
About 6.5 seconds, Bob, as Morgan Shepherd brings the Red Baron Pizza Oldsmobile of Buddy Baker for an unscheduled pit stop. He had worked his way a while back into the lead lap, and then had made another green flag pit stop and got a lap down again. And here he is having a tire problem again, changing the right side tires on his car, so that'll put him at least one more lap.
Buddy Baker has already announced that his driver for 1989 full-time will be Greg Sachs, with Buddy driving an occasional race if he feels like it.
You can see when they changed the right side tires on that car of Morgan Shepherd's that the tires they put on had stickers on them. They were brand new tires. Now, when you're having tire problems, blister problems at a racetrack, you look for scuffed tires. The tires that have been scuffed have cured just a little bit, and they'll be just a little bit harder. So I would think that all of the crews are running up and down pit road trying to find some tires that have been scuffed, and hopefully that will help solve the tire problem.
I think most of them have only scuffed perhaps 5 or 6 sets of tires, not anticipating the tire problems that they had early in the race here today. And so I'm sure that many of them are down to what you call stickers, brand new tires that have not been run.
Again, we're watching third, fourth, and fifth here. Mike Alexander is in second, but now third is Jeff Bodine in the number 5, then Sterling Marlin 44, and Dale Jarrett in number 29. Saw some smoke from the Jarrett car. I think it was only tire smoke.
I think it was tire smoke. It was coming from the car. We'll keep an eye on it, but it seems like those 4 drivers are pretty well content with the positions that they're running in. They are not making any attempt to pass each other now. They're just riding along, just trying to keep a good pace going there and not abuse those tires.
But you know, this racetrack, it definitely does not reward somebody who tries hard. The harder you try it at Dover, the more problems you seem to have. Here comes Ricky Rudd into the pits.
Rudd, last year's winner. In fact, the guy who has won the last 2 Delaware 500s is in, and Dick Berggren is right there.
Well, Bob Jenkins, we've seen a lot of people come into pit road, and I'm going to tell you what, this deal is separating the brave from the abnormally brave. A number of crew chiefs have said their drivers have come in and changed tires when there's nothing wrong, but a bunch of guys have changed tires when there are things that are drastically wrong with them. And one of the things we need to bear in mind is that these cars have power steering. That makes it very difficult to feel a tire going down, may even make it difficult to feel a tire that is beginning to blister. The result, ultra tension on pit road. The crews are very, very worried about the safety, security of their drivers and their cars as well.
And certainly Ricky Rudd has experienced probably the most tire problems of the entire afternoon. Now there is Dale Jarrett in car number 29, battling with Sterling Marlin in car number 44. Just a few moments ago, these positions shuffled, and this is how it happened.
Sterling Marlin went on the inside of Jeff Bodine. Jeff Bodine driving the car number 5. You see how close these 3 cars are running, and Dale Jarrett took advantage of the fact that Marlin had Bodine a little bit high in the turn, so Jarrett moved on the inside and took over the 4th position.
So Sterling Marlin is in 3rd position now, and the number 29 of Jarrett is in 4th, and that drops Jeff Bodine back to 5th. Now we can see Dale Jarrett here move to 3rd position, side by side with Sterling. He has to get out of the accelerator and move high on the track because Bobby Hillin Jr. is right there, but he stays side by side with Sterling Marlin as they come down the straightaway. Marlin holds him off, though, but a good battle.
Jarrett's taking that inside route, which is a little more abusive to the tires, but Sterling using the outside groove, and they bump just a little bit, and Sterling has to back off, and I don't blame him a bit in the world, and Jarrett takes the position.
Well, that was quite a move there, but you know, it looked like Dale had just kind of sat back. He had that flat tire just before the caution, just slowly moving back up towards the front. Now he's setting his sights on Mike Alexander for second place.
Well, they do seem to have the second fastest car in the field to Bill Elliott as Harry Gant comes into the pits for a green flag pit stop. And that right rear tire going flat just as he came in the pits and the caution came out at the same time. Had to get him concerned a little bit. They're getting the halfway mark, so this is an official race, regardless of what happens, although we haven't had any immediate threat of rain here recently. But Jarrett now beginning to feel comfortable again, I guess starting to move.
I don't think we're going to have an interruption by rain. This thing is going to go the whole way, I think, and we are exactly halfway through the Delaware 500. Bill Elliott leads. Alexander is second, followed by Jarrett, Marlin, and Bodine. Back at Dover Downs International Speedway, and we have reached the halfway mark. In fact, we are 3 laps over the halfway point, and our Napa mid-race recap now will show you what has occurred here in the first part of this event. The leader at the halfway point was Bill Elliott. He started third, has led 201 of the 250 laps. The average speed of the race, 113.475. Bill has made 5 pit stops on laps 36, 75, 112, 148, and 209. 5 caution periods for a total of 37 laps. We have had 5 different leaders and 9 lead changes. 35 of the 40 cars are still remaining, and 7 are on the lead lap. Those cars that have dropped out of the race include Rodney Combs, our pole sitter Mark Martin, Richard Petty, Randy LaJoie, and Derek Cope because of an accident. Now we'll recap for you the video highlights of the first half of this race. It got off to a very precarious start as the pole sitter Mark Martin, running second to Bill Elliott, visits the wall in turn number 3, a hard hit because of a tire problem. And at the other end of the racetrack, it was also a similar problem for Ken Schrader as he got into the wall and made heavy contact with the right side of the car. Tires were a definite story in the early part of this race. It settled down for a little bit, but then it was Richard Petty who also had a problem with the car as he went into corner number 1, drifting high on the racetrack and just brushing the wall. Richard Petty in car number 43, however, remains in this race. Another incident of wall contact involved Derek Cope as he lost control and hit the 4th turn wall, and we saw it from our in-car camera. Davey Allison had a near miss. The car got sideways with him coming down off of turn number 3. He got the car corrected, however, and continued into the pit area. He did not lose a lap because of that and is still one of those cars in the lead lap. Bill Elliott is the leader, however. Sterling Marlin has been in for a pit stop. Jerry, why was the reason for the stop?
Well, take a look, Bob. Sterling was in. This is the right front tire off the Piedmont Airlines Underall Oldsmobile. He came in for an unscheduled stop after running only about 50 laps from the previous stop. Mike Alexander, likewise, just did it a minute ago. His right front tire on the Miller Buick looks the same. So the 2nd and 4th place cars have both been in just minutes ago for unscheduled pit stops. For why? Well, blistered tires, big holes and chunks of rubber coming out of the tires.
So certainly the tire situation has not been resolved by any means, and that is one of the stories that is a real factor in the first part of this race. We'll be back in just a moment. Just as you rejoin us, the yellow flag comes out for the 6th time this afternoon, and it's because of the number 96 car driven by Dana Patton of Enfield, New Hampshire. And there is the race back to the caution flag, and Bill Elliott, of course, will maintain the lead. But Dana Patton has definitely come in contact with something.
He ran in the back of the 8 car. Bobby Hillin had some kind of a problem, slowed down all of a sudden, and Dana ran right into the back of him.
So they raise the hood on the number 96 car and see if they can straighten that car out and get it back into the race. Dana Patton in the U.S. Chrome Corporation Buick started this event in 38th position.
He might have an engine problem there too, or maybe a broken oil line or something of that nature. And this will be a break for those who had not made green flag pit stops, including Bill Elliott, Dale Jarrett, Jeff Bodine, and Davey Allison. None of those drivers had come in while Sterling Marlin and Mike Alexander had been in pit. Let's go to Jerry Punchman.
Well, again, the race on pit road. Bill Elliott brings the cores, Motorcraft core to a halt. The crew go to work. Dan Elliott, Ernie Elliott, the crew down to the right side of the car. They have the car on the right side jack. They already had the right side jack down. What great pit work by the Coors crew here. They had the left side tires going on. What's happening in Dale Jarrett's pit, Dick?
Well, you guys are ahead of us. They're just getting ready to do the left side tires on Dale Jarrett's car all the way through this pit stop. You have been ahead. I imagine he will. Elliott's on his way out. He's got Jarrett beat by a mile. Dale doesn't even have the left side tires on. Now he's got him down and Dale's gone.
Alan Kulwicki remains in the pits, as does Davey Allison. Now Alan begins to move away as we watch Mike Alexander go also back on the track. There you can see all of the scurrying that's going on in the pit area. Davey Allison's car is still being worked on. There you can see that the Shitco car of the number 21 of Kyle Petty going out. And there now is Davey Allison finally getting out of pit road. Michael Waltrip is still in. Now he begins to move away, as does Lake Speed. So pit stops are being completed once again as we are under the caution flag because of the Dana Patton incident down the backstretch when he had contact with the Bobby Hillen Jr. car. 265 laps have been completed. We've been televising races from here at Dover for quite a while, and it certainly was an interesting race here just last year, 1987. Here is our Purolator replay. Winston Cup replays are brought to you by Purolator, the first name in filters. For Pure Oil now and Pure Oil later, it's Purolator. Last year in the Delaware 500, Dale Earnhardt was driving to his first win on the Monster Mile. But it wasn't to be. This would be the first race of the season that Dale would not finish because of mechanical problems. He did, however, go on to win the Winston Cup Championship. Ricky Rudd went on to win his second straight Delaware 500 and goes today for an unprecedented third. He has definitely had some problems, though, in that quest for the third victory, as he has been in numerous times because of tire problems. We'll be back with more after these messages. It's turned into a very pleasant afternoon here in Delaware as we televise the Delaware 500 Winston Cup race for you. Later tonight here on ESPN, we'll discuss the activity of the National Football League at 7:15 tonight Eastern Time. That's NFL Prime Time with Chris Berman, John Saunders, Pete Axthelm, and Tom Jackson. Now, a little bit later at 12:25 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday the 23rd, Australian Rules Football, the 1988 Grand Finale. This is really Australian rules football, a combination of rugby and football and soccer. It is a rough sport, but you'll want to be with us at 12:25 on the 23rd for the 88 Grand Finals. All right, the number 8 car of Bobby Hillen Jr. is in the pit area, and let's go to Larry Newber in Pit Central, who has been assessing and trying to find out what's going on with the tire situation.
Bob, during the last pit stop, I took the opportunity to go out on pit road and see what was going on, and I saw, first of all, Dale Earnhardt crew get him out in front of Bill Elliott once again for another time. But we were also talking with Richard Childress about the tire situation. And on the situation, he is saying that the problem is with the shoulders on the tires. They're getting good tire temperature right off the center of the tread, but on the shoulders, the right side and the left side, is temperatures they're saying about as high as 260 degrees. You're watching, by the way, on the racetrack right now, Darrell Waltrip, who is out on the racetrack driving in a very unusual configuration. But getting back to the tire situation, the wear is doing much better now. All the drivers are sensitive to what's going on, and as Richard agreed with me, the track is treating the tires a little better. But they're still getting those big 250, 260 degree temperature readings on the shoulders of the tires. And by the way, down here in the Childress pit, it's almost like a tire store. Believe it or not, there are about 60, yes, 60 tires stacked down here. I've seen tires with numbers 3 on them and tires with number 48, as well as a couple of other teams.
And there you can see the work on the Darrell Waltrip situation. He drove at least 2 laps, I think, around the track with his hood up and completely blocking his view. What could have caused that, gentlemen?
They're working somewhere else. There's a couple guys working on the hood there, but one of the men was working on some of the chassis, part of the chassis. They apparently had the hood up, working on it, and sent Darrell out of the pit without any hood pins in.
All right, so the green comes back out now, and racing resumes on lap number 270.
And Dale Earnhardt and Sterling Marlin are just ahead of Bill Elliott. They're on the tail end of the lead lap. Now Elliott trying to move on the inside of Sterling Marlin to put him a lap down, but he can't quite do it going into turn 3. Now he moves up the side of it.
Well, they have been among his strongest challengers this afternoon, both Earnhardt and especially Sterling Marlin, and Bill would like very much to pass Sterling Marlin here and indeed put him a complete lap down on the field, and he has. So Elliott now drops Sterling Marlin back one full lap. A little wobble there on the part of Sterling Marlin. He gathers it in, though, but as you can see, is continuing to lose positions.
Yeah, his car is apparently the tire is not feeling too well for him here as the green flag came back out. Dale Jarrett's in second place. He got caught back in traffic. And in third place is Jeff Bodine. He's not too far behind Jarrett.
Fourth unofficially is Kyle Petty in car number 21, and Davey Allison is in fifth position.
Boy.
So some positions really changed there because of that caution, because some have already come in and therefore lost a lap.
Yeah, there are only 6 cars on the lead lap right now. Dale Earnhardt is running at the tail end of the lead lap. There are 4 cars behind Bill Elliott, and then Dale Earnhardt right in front of him.
Boy, heavy traffic right there. You can imagine Dale Earnhardt's crew, knowing that they're in the lead lap, that's going to have a tough time holding that edge on Bill Elliott unless something happens and a yellow comes out. You know they're looking at that heavy troop of traffic and saying any spin or anything like this could happen right in this pack would cause Dale Earnhardt to beat Bill Elliott to the line and regain his position back in the lead lap.
2 and 3 abreast racing going on here, and the pack seems to be holding to Bill Elliott as he is not putting much separation between himself and everybody else. There comes the group, and they really have not seen the rear end of Elliott's car for a long, long time, but now they can.
Yeah, he's been so far out in front most of the time. He had about a 7.5-second lead before this caution came out, and it was a welcome caution. You mentioned in several drivers who have not made green flag pit-stops, but they can come in and get 4 new tires.
Well, you know these cars can go somewhere around 90 to maybe 100 laps before they need to stop to get fuel. But every caution is coming somewhere around the 50-lap area. So Bill Elliott really hasn't been able to lap anybody that's running just a little bit slower on the racetrack. The only chance they get to see him is during the cautions. Let's go down to Jerry Punch and see what's wrong with Darrell Waltrip's car.
Well, Darrell Waltrip came in and they had changed the right front spring on the car, and they were in a hurry to get the hood down and get him out without losing the lap, and they put the hood down. As they turned to put the hood pins in, Darrell took off. So Darrell went back on the racetrack. The hood blew up and it cracked the windshield. They came in, they beat the hood back down, but the problem is, well, you see a brand new windshield here about ready to go in the tied car. NASCAR said you got to bring him in. That windshield is cracked too badly. It'll be dangerous if it comes in Darrell's lap. Darrell Waltrip making his way back to pit road for a brand new windshield. Another tough race for the 3-time Winston Cup champion.
Indeed, Jerry, the black flag has been given to Darrell Waltrip, and he will be coming in now for that new windshield. So Waltrip will maybe making a pit stop. As a matter of fact, here he comes down pit road right now as the leader is Bill Elliott. And let's go back down to Jerry, who can call this replacement of the windshield. That windshield is really busted up, isn't it, Larry? Again, Jerry?
It is really crunched in there, and Darrell can barely see out of it. What a break. I mean, it's a wonder it didn't come in. They use this shatterproof glass, another safety feature here in NASCAR, and that's what kept the windshield from coming in on Darrell's lap. And now Jeff Hammond, the crew, they go to work on the car. Sandy Jones there on the left side. Jeff Hammond's on the right side of your picture. And they are trying to get the windshield unbuckled. They will pull the brakes from the truck away. Now what's left of that one slides out. The new windshield will go back in. And Darrell sitting very patiently in the car, but losing a lot of valuable time here at Dover.
But you can see the braces, those 3 little braces in the middle of the car, they're bent back. That's what holds the windshield up. This new windshield will break again if they don't fix those braces. They're going to have more problems. They're having a tough day all the way around. You can imagine they were trying to change the front spring to help the handling, and then all these problems started. It just seems to compound and compound here at Dover. The harder you try, the more trouble you seem to have.
Darrell Waltrip's season has not been a especially good one for him. He tells us that he's very much looking forward, however, to next year. Waltrip is 8th in the point standings, and here now is the battle for second position. Dale Jarrett in car number 29 and Jeff Bodine in car number 5. And Darrell Waltrip has made his way back out onto the racetrack. There he goes as the second place cars of Jarrett and Jeff Bodine pass him on the high side of the racetrack. And there is the leader, meanwhile, Bill Elliott, and Dale Earnhardt is still on the lead lap, but almost a full lap behind.
Well, there again, Elliott is not trying to punish his car too much to pass Dale Earnhardt and put him a lap down. He would like to do it because he knows anytime Earnhardt's in the lead lap that he's a threat to win the race. But he also knows that his car is faster than Earnhardt, or has been all day at least, and he wouldn't be quite as concerned. He'd rather not punish his car right now. Rather than punish it to get around him, he'll just sit there and ride behind him, and maybe Dale's tires will start to go away in a little bit and he can make an easier pass.
So Elliott now with the lead. Dale Jarrett second, Jeff Bodine third, Davey Allison fourth, and Kyle Petty fifth at the end of 282 laps. You're watching ESPN Speed World live coverage of the Delaware 500 from Dover Downs International Speedway, being brought to you by Pronto, featuring quality auto parts at lower prices. By Budweiser, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. And by Unical. NASCAR drivers count on Unical gasolines. Go with the spirit of 76. And with 287 laps now completed, it is still Bill Elliott showing the way in the Delaware 500. Dale Earnhardt is right ahead of him, but Dale is almost a lap down to the field.
Running in second place is Dale Jarrett. Third is car number 5, Jeff Bodine. Kyle Petty is running fourth. Davey Allison fifth, and Dale Earnhardt sixth. Those are the 6 cars that are in the lead lap. 1 lap down is the car number 12 of Mike Alexander. He's running 7th. Sterling Marlin is 8th. Phil Parsons 9th. Alan Kulwicki 10th. Benny Parsons 11th. And Neil Bonnet is in 12th place. They're all running. Gary Kent just made a pit stop for a change of right side tires, and it looks like they might be bringing him back in again.
Alan Kulwicki is the car right behind Bill Elliott, but Alan is also off the pace and not on the lead lap after starting this race in second spot.
Actually, he's 1 lap down, so he has moved around Mike Alexander, so he would be the driver running in 7th position at the moment.
You know, Alan Kulwicki really would like to get his lap back just the same as Dale Earnhardt. It almost appears that Bill Elliott has really kind of settled back for a while.
The number 5 car and the 28 car are battling for position here. Jeff Bodine and Davey Allison. This is for the 3rd spot, as Bodine tries to stave off a challenge of Allison. The number 83 car of Lake Speed is right ahead of Jeff Bodine. You can see the high groove that Jeff is continuing to run. We've been seeing that for almost the entire race.
Well, you're right, Bob. Jeff, he still feels his way around. Now he's really running higher than ever. He's actually getting his right side tires up into the gray part of the racetrack and making his own groove up there. He seems to be more and more successful up there, so he's up to 3rd position. Maybe that's been working pretty well for him.
Ford against Chevy here. Ford and Davey Allison and the Chevrolet of Jeff Bodine. A lot of speculation as to what Jeff Bodine may be doing in the 1989 season. Now Davey Allison is alongside him down the straightaway. Bodine still, though, with about a half a car length advantage on him. And Allison is having all kinds of trouble taking that spot away from Jeff Bodine. Now he pulls ahead by almost a full car length, and there he has him. Davey Allison moves to 3rd spot.
Yeah, that was a good move on Davey's part. Jeff was trying so hard, you could tell he had to almost get out of the gas coming off the turn.
Alan Kulwicki just passed Bill Elliott, and so now Alan Kulwicki is on the lead lap.
I agree with you, Gary. I think Bill Elliott is sort of cooling it right now. I don't think he's running that car as hard as it could possibly go. And the fact that he's got 2 drivers like Dale Earnhardt and Alan Kulwicki up there who have gotten their laps back, they have to run hard. They have no choice but to run hard at this point and try to get their lap back, which they have done at this point. And Elliott would have to run just as hard and abuse his car as much as they're abusing theirs to stay up there, and he just doesn't want to do that with some 205 laps to go.
You know, it's decision time all through the race, especially for the leader like Bill Elliott in that kind of position.
Elliott has won 5 times this year in Winston Cup competition, at Bristol, at Dover, at Pocono, at Daytona, and at Darlington. So his wins this year are certainly not confined to the super speedways as they were basically in 1985. He has won on the half-mile at Bristol. He has won here on the 1-mile track at Dover Downs. And we have a crash up in turn number 3.
Ken Schrader, it appears.
Yes, it is. For the second time this afternoon, Ken Schrader is into the wall, and he takes even more off the right side of that car. You can see him unbuckling the safety netting on the left side of the car and is unstrapping now and climbing out. And I would guess that Schrader would probably say, okay, you win, I quit.
Ken Schrader's going to walk into the pits and he's going to tell Harry Hyde, look, if we go back out there again, I may not have anything left but a motorcycle.
He has really narrowed the front end of that car down. This is the break that Alan Kulwicki and Dale Earnhardt were looking for. It has put them back in contention. We'll have 7 cars on the lead lap. Everybody will be coming into the pits as we see Kenny Schrader walk back through the pits. Bill Elliott drives down pit road.
And so you can see how you can get a lap back rather easily here at Dover, as both Earnhardt and Alan Kulwicki will do so now during this series of pit stops. In Bill Elliott's pit, Jerry Punch.
Well, they've already put right side tires on Bill Elliott's course, Motorcraft Ford. Elliott's on top, Dale Jarrett on the bottom, and watch these 2 gladiators battle it out on pit road. And now they're going to the left side. Oh, and Dale Jarrett is down now, coming down pit road. So almost hit Alan Kulwicki. Bill Elliott's down and away. Dale Jarrett will not get out in front of Elliott. It'll be Elliott and Jarrett, the first 2 off pit road.
That was a close call though there for Dale, though, as he almost flipped the Alan Kulwicki car that was stopping in front of him.
There was 2 tires on Dale Jarrett's car, 4 tires on Bill Elliott's car. I think if he hadn't had that collision with Alan Kulwicki, he may have been able to take the lead and beat Bill Elliott out of the pit.
I agree. But that's the way they line up on the racetrack. And there you can see the work continues on Alan Kulwicki's car on the left side. Now the jacks are down, and Kulwicki moves back out onto the racetrack. And all of this is happening at lap 297, so we're almost 3/5 of the way through this event here this afternoon. And we'll take another break and be right back with more live coverage of the Delaware 500. The green flag has just come out, and we are back to racing. That is Rusty Wallace leading Bill Elliott down the backstretch. Bill is the leader of the race, and Rusty trying to get the lap back again. And as we mentioned, Rusty just doing everything he can to gain 1 more Winston Cup point, because it could be very important at the end of the season.
But we saw Dale Earnhardt get his lap back just on that last caution. Now Dale's back in the pack, trying to move on up and be a contender for the win later on. Rusty Wallace, seeing that, knows he's losing points to both Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt. He's trying as hard as he can right now to get back in contention.
There's the 88 car of Morgan Shepherd and the 11 car of Terry Labonte close together out there on the racetrack.
And Jeff Bodine has just moved around Dale Jarrett. He moved around Davey Allison a couple of laps ago. Jarrett only took on right side tires, and I believe that was a mistake on his crew. I believe they should have put on 4 tires, because the car is not going through the corners like it was earlier.
No, indeed, as Davey Allison here comes on the inside, and we are hearing that there is tire rub on the right side. You can see it, very evident, Ned.
Evidently, he touched Alan Kulwicki when he started out of the pits there earlier during the caution flag pit stop. They should have come back in and checked that, and now it's going to cost them, because they're probably going to have to make a green flag pit stop.
Well, that's an unfortunate situation, because Dale was certainly doing his job, keeping that car well in the top 5 and in second place for a while, but now he may be dropping back just a little bit because of this problem at the right front of the race car. The in-car camera, though, rides with Dale Jarrett, but there you can see Davey Allison on the extreme left side. That's the number 3 car, I should say, of Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt moving up fast. He knows now he's got a little spark of encouragement. Back in the lead lap, ready to go. Tough break for Dale Jarrett to bump Alan Kulwicki as he was trying to leave the pits and have that tire rub. I don't know how much longer that's going to last.
There goes Ricky Rudd to the inside of Dale Jarrett. And here comes Phil Parsons next. And that seems to me like developing into a rather serious situation here.
Yes, it is. It's a big risk that he's taking, staying out there, especially with the right front rubbing, because it don't take long. There's not much rubber on the side of those tires, and if it's rubbing, it can rub through in a hurry.
Well, you just want to stay out there, though, as long as you can, knowing that the car is handling so well, and you just hope for a caution. But boy, Dale, it seems, is taking a real chance, because that tire could go at any moment and put him into the wall.
Well, the risk is it rubbing on the tread of the tire, the shoulder of the tire, or actually on the sidewall where there is very little rubber. If it's rubbing on the sidewall, it can't last over just a few laps. If it's rubbing on the top or the tread of the tire or the surface of the tire, it could last a little bit longer and maybe to the next caution.
There goes Kyle Petty in car number 21 to the inside of Jarrett.
But you know, the crew chief on the Dale Jarrett car has to be thinking right now, what do we do? If we stop, we know we're going to lose at least a lap fixing it. We're already half a lap down to the leader. What can we do? We keep losing positions. Eventually, either we're going to hit the wall or it's going to get better. We don't know where it's rubbing on the tire. It may or may not fail. There's so many decisions going on right now. That's probably more why Dale Jarrett's falling back in the pack, because they're trying to decide what to do. And while they're trying to decide, he doesn't want to be right on the ragged edge just in case it will blow out.
And Gary, it might be that they don't realize that the tire is rubbing. It might be that they're thinking that he's dropping back because he didn't take on left side tires.
Well, I don't know, Ned. You know, they're pitted right across from our booth here, and I can see the NASCAR official talking to the crew chief on Dale Jarrett's car. So I think that NASCAR has at least indicated that they have a problem.
Well, let's go to Dick Berggren, who maybe can fill us in on all these questions. Dick?
Well, they're sort of trying to figure out down here what the problem is. NASCAR has just told Elmo Langley, the crew chief, bring the car in. Elmo has signaled to the team, yep, let's bring him in. It was a surprisingly hard hit here in the pit. What had happened was Kulwicki trying to get into his pit while Jarrett was trying to get out of his. There was a right foot contact. But the thing that worries me is you can see smoke not only outside the right side of the car, but you can see some of it underneath, and that may not be an indication of a tire. Maybe something else. But they are ready to change tires. They hope that's all it is.
But I really would hope that they would just pull the fender away from the tire and send him out maybe a 3 or 4 second pit stop. That's all they can hope for right now. If they have to change tires, they're going to lose that lap and really have a tough time getting it back.
Well, let's see exactly what they do. We're inside the Dale Jarrett car as he stops at his pit to try to get an ascertation of what's going on. Dick Berggren, tell us what's going on.
Well, Bob, what's going on is the right front fender is bent far enough in. It could have actually not just got the outside of the tire, but even the center of the tire. Oh, they've come off the jack. Bad break for Jarrett. He has come off the jack. That's going to take them still more time here in the pit. The right front fender is pretty well torn up. Jarrett just sits. So far, he hasn't gone down a lap. If they don't get him out of here soon, he will.
Yeah, he's gone down a lap
boy,
already.
He's tied up. No, he's down. He's down. Tough break for Dale Jarrett.
Yeah, he went down 1 lap, and now he's going to have to hustle to stay as Bill Elliott comes off a turn 4 down the front straightaway. He's almost 2 laps down. Jarrett gets back out on the track. He's just about a second and a half ahead of Bill Elliott.
The jack man left his position to assist the situation in the right front, and the jack fell before they got the front tire on. So that's what took up valuable time in the pits for Dale Jarrett.
Boy, what a series of events that happened. You know, they changed 2 tires to hopefully get the lead, and then the fact that they changed 2 tires caused them to have that collision with a car that was just coming in, not expecting them to be going out. Then the tire rubbing. NASCAR made the decision for them and black flagged them, causing them to have the pit. Then the problems they had on the pit stop.
And so Dale Jarrett has not had a good afternoon here in the last few laps. A very disappointing situation for Dale. There you can see the damage in the right front of the race car. I think they have successfully pulled it away from the tire, but you can also see that he is almost 2 laps down, as right there is Bill Elliott in the number 9 car.
And right on his back bumper is Morgan Shepherd, who's trying to get one of the laps back that he had lost on a green flag pit stop. Rusty Wallace is still just ahead of Bill Elliott, so has gotten back one of the laps that he was back down. At the 300 lap mark, Bob, Bill Elliott, of course, was leading. Dale Jarrett was second at the time. Of course, that is Davey Allison has moved up to second. He was third. Fourth, Jeff Bodine. Fifth, Kyle Petty. Dale Earnhardt sixth, and Alan Kulwicki seventh. Those 7 cars were in the lead lap. 1 lap down in 8th place was Phil Parsons, Mike Alexander. In 10th place, Sterling Marlin. In 11th, the car number 75 of Neil Bonnet. In 12th place, 2 laps down, Rusty Wallace. 13th, Terry Labonte, who was 2 laps down. Morgan Shepherd, who's trying to get one of those laps back, was 14th. Dave Marcus, 15th. 16th, Michael Waltrip. 17th, Ricky Rudd. 18th, Lake Speed. 19th, Benny Parsons. And in 20th place, the car number 2 of Ernie Irvin.
So there you have the rundown as far as we can go, with 7 cars on the lead lap, and that was at the end of 300 laps, and we are now on 318. And the only significant change there has been the development with the Dale Jarrett car. The number 3 car, the number 7 car race close together out there, as does the 12 car of Mike Alexander. And Earnhardt is indeed not out of the woods by any means in winning this race.
Well, he's had a long day so far, and there's a long way to go still. But Dale Earnhardt and both Alan Kulwicki that you see running together there just got back in the lead lap. They're working there. When you on-lap yourself like that, you really, and when the yellow comes out, you have to go an extra lap to catch up to the pace car. So when the race restarted, Alan Kulwicki and Dale Earnhardt were both just about dead last in the traffic. They've been passing car after car. Now they're really getting the leader within sight. So they stayed together through the traffic, and now they're moving on up really into contention.
There's the number 5 car of Bodine. It's right ahead of Dale Earnhardt, and Bodine would be in 3rd. Earnhardt in 4th, and Kulwicki in 5th at this point. And here comes Dale to challenge Jeff Bodine. They pass Ricky Rudd. Bodine going to the high side, and Dale Earnhardt to the inside of Rudd. And now we'll see if Dale can close in on the 3rd place car of Jeff Bodine. They come off the corner. And Earnhardt seems he's backed off just a little bit.
Yeah, the car looks so much better. Dale Earnhardt's car looks so much better than it did early in the race. I'm sure they've been adjusting on every pit stop, and they're getting it closer and closer. And I think a little more of the same, and Dale Earnhardt's going to be right up in there with Elliott.
We're seeing Ricky Rudd there, who has won the last 2 Delaware 500s, but will probably not win it today. And you know, it seems that wins of the Delaware 500 has come in pairs. Rudd did it in 86 and 87. Gant won it in 84 and 85. Petty in 74 and 75. Pearson in 71 and 72. And Petty again in 69 and 70. Back to the leader, meanwhile, it's Bill Elliott, and Jerry Punch has a story from pit road.
Well, gentlemen, maybe Gary can comment on some of the strategy being used down here. In fact, the reason we have not seen any more tire problems from Bill Elliott is that Bill Elliott has got a teammate. Brad Teague, who's driving the Buddy Arrington Ford, is scuffing the tires for Bill Elliott. Now, Bill Elliott is giving Brad Teague new tires. Brad Teague is running him a few laps, bringing him back up here to Bill Elliott, and Bill Elliott is putting on scuffed tires. And Gary, maybe that's a strategy that some of the other teams should employ, having someone else scuff tires for them.
Well, you know, we talked about, we saw somebody putting on sticker tires under a green flag pit stop. I believe it was Morgan Shepherd. And we were talking about how a scuffed tire has a lot less chance of blistering. So that is a great move on Ernie from Bill Elliott's pit, Ernie Elliott or whoever it was in charge of that sent the tires down, had them scuffed, brought them back, put them on Bill's car. That's a good move, and I think a lot of the other teams are looking around for partners.
Well, we have seen scruffing of tires happen occasionally on the Winston Cup Tour this year. You remember at Watkins Glen, we had a tire problem throughout that race, and we had some teams. Oh, we have a crash. We have a crash in turn number 2. It's Alan Kulwicki who's in the wall, and it is once again possible that a tire went down on that car. He is continuing to roll down the backstretch. You can see fluid leaking out of that car, and tremendous damage on the left side of the Xerox Ford.
That's on the right side, right front of it is what hit the wall, Bob. And yes, there is a lot of damage. Now the car does come to a stop.
Well, that's a hard hit. Very familiar looking so far today with Mark Martin starting it off. Now Alan Kulwicki's accident, although it was in turn 1 and 2, looked just the same.
Let's take a look at it on our replay as we watch what happens at the top of the screen.
As he comes into the picture, you can see he's coming off of it. It looked like he turned crossways. Well, no, he had already hit the wall at that point and then came back down on the racetrack and went back up into the wall again.
He is driving the car right there.
Yeah,
he's
almost
steering
hit the wall
it. So you know he hit the wall very hard, but he still has the presence of mind to get it out of the traffic.
And here it is once again. Contact has already been made with the wall. The car continuing to slide up the banking, and Allen scraping along the wall from turn number 2 all the way down to the halfway point of the backstretch where the car sits right now. Bill Elliott returns to the race after having made a pit stop. Most of the others in The top 7, the cars on the lead lap, are also in for some pit stops. And there is Dale Jarrett, the work continuing on that car as they change rubber on the right side of the car.
Somewhat of a break for him, Bob. He came out in front of Bill Elliott, had moved away from Elliott a little bit, and so now he's only 1 lap down, and Morgan Shepherd and Rusty Wallace was out in front of Bill Elliott when this caution came out, so they got one of their laps back as well.
Let's go down to Dick Berggren quickly.
Well, and then it does, in fact, appear that the only problem with Dale Jarrett's car came from the right front tire, which was produced by the fender sticking into it, because after they changed it, we've seen no more smoke. When they took the tire off, it was badly damaged. It's a tough break because he did lose those laps, but at least he proved he can definitely run in the front in this league. If he can run in the front here at Dover, he can run in the front at anywhere.
Well, you're right. Despite the fact of where he finishes today, it will be a very good day for Dale Jarrett. We'll watch some action as the cars came out of the pits area from that most recent time. Davey Allison and Jeff Bodine. And this occurred after they had come out of the pits. I was watching this as the cars actually left their pit down pit road, and there was a little bit of contact between the two cars on pit road. And then when they got out on the track, they had some more contact. So we're under caution once again at Dover Downs International Speedway for the 8th time this afternoon on lap 329. We have 169 laps to go in the Delaware 500. Bill Elliott is the leader, Dale Earnhardt second, Jeff Bodine third, Davey Allison fourth, and Kyle Petty is in fifth. Delaware 500 live this afternoon on ESPN from Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware. Next weekend, we begin some sports activity for you on Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The 10-round featherweight bout on Top Rank Boxing involving Myron Taylor and Alberto Mercado. That's next Friday, the 23rd at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And then next Sunday, we'll all be at Martinsville, Virginia for the Goodies 500 Winston Cup race. The defending champion is Darrell Waltrip, and believe it or not, Bill Elliott has never won a race at Martinsville. Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace both have won at that location. It's the first time we've been at Martinsville for several years. We did a race there I think back in 1981 maybe, but we'll return there for the Goodies 500 next Sunday afternoon live at 12:30 Eastern Time, and we hope that you will be with us.
And boy, that is always a lot of good close. You talk about contact.
Yeah.
We'll see if this is a contact sport when we get to Martinsville next week.
Yeah, I guess you can hardly tell one car from the other. Everybody that starts out with a red car or a blue car certainly doesn't have all the colors when that race is over at Martinsville. There's a look at Rick Wilson as he gets set to stand on the throttle and get back into race competition.
Looked like he was just looking over to the driver beside him and sort of grinned and said, "I'm going to get you when we take off."
All right, so the field coming off of corner number 4. Now you can see Rick getting ready to shift gears and stand on the accelerator. The green flag is displayed, and we are back to racing. And Bill Elliott has the lead. Now Dale Earnhardt is in second position with Jeff Bodine third, Davey Allison fourth, and the 21 car of Kyle Petty running in fifth position. The number 44 car of Sterling Marlin, you can see there ahead of Dale Jarrett, separating first from second. He is not on the lead lap. But Dale Earnhardt will try to pass him here and have clear sailing between himself and the leader, Bill Elliott.
You know, we saw Davey and Allison and Jeff Bodine pull out of the pits together, and they were really racing for position. But then Davey seemed to have fallen back just a little on the restart. There's Jeff Bodine right behind Dale Earnhardt. Davey should be right in the middle of this race with Dale Earnhardt and Sterling Marlin and Jeff Bodine, but he seems to have fallen back a little. He may have hurt his alignment a little bit when he bumped Jeff Bodine under the caution.
It appeared to us as if Bodine might have suffered the most serious damage because there is a huge tire mark on the right side of Bodine's car, but instead it looks like Davey Allison may have suffered the greatest damage in that little incident with Jeff Bodine, as Jeff tried to pull alongside Sterling Marlin there, unable to do so. Now here comes Jeff back on the low side of the racetrack.
Well, I've noticed, after each restart that Jeff Bodine's car has been strong for 6, 8, or 10 laps, and then it starts to go high as we saw it earlier. Of course, I'm sure that they've been making adjustments on that car during each caution period pit stop, so maybe he won't have that problem this time, but he's always fast when the green flag starts the race.
You know, that contact we saw, or the collision really, on the backstretch during the caution flag with Davey Allison and Jeff Bodine, well, Davey's left front tire bumped up against Jeff's right rear tire. Well, the rear suspension on these cars is a lot stronger than the front suspension. The rear axle housing is it's like a beam axle. The front suspension is a lot more fragile. Davey could be suffering from a toe out or some kind of front suspension alignment problem.
Now we see is Jeff's car beginning to go high in the turns again, as we noted just a moment ago. First few laps with new tires on, he can stay down on the inside of the racetrack, and he made several passes, but as we see him going to the turn, he's right back up in that high groove again. Of course, it seems to be working pretty good for him, but he doesn't run quite as fast up there as he did when he had the brand new tires on and was running lower.
And a little bit of tire smoke evident from that car on occasion. There's the interval between first and the second position.
Well, Dale Earnhardt, of course, went a lap down early in the race. A little smoke, that's tire smoke coming from his car. He went in that corner pretty hard, and as he started off turn 2, you saw that tire smoke coming from his car. That's something he doesn't want to do, because he'll heat those tires up too much if he abuses them too much and gets too much smoke coming from them.
Dale Earnhardt, second in Winston Cup points. Is it the same running for the points lead as it is, say, running for 5th or 10th?
Well, it is. Really, you just go to each race trying to win races, and if you win them races, them points are going to come. So that's the basic thing we've done for the last 2 years, just go try to win every race we went to and finish the best we can. So, you know, them points are going to come along with it. You think 7 races is a short distance to go, and you look at the points and say, well, Bill's got a pretty good lead, but that could change in one race, just like it did with Rusty and Richmond. So, you know, you can't never count your chickens before that.
Well, it is interesting that the leader in Winston Cup points is leading this race, and second in Winston Cup points is second in the race. Unfortunately, the third place individual in the Winston Cup points, Rusty Wallace, has had not a very good race and will certainly lose more in his quest for the Winston Cup title.
Well, Rusty has run good here today, Bob, but he's had some unscheduled pit stops, some green flag pit stops, which cost him a lap each time, and he's just been playing.
Yeah, he's in 12th position right now, only a lap down, but Rusty does have a long way to go.
Trouble in turn 2.
Car down to the inside of the racetrack. We can't see it. There it is. Eddie Birchwell in car number 23 has spun to the inside of the racetrack in corner number 2, and it'll bring out our 9th caution of the afternoon.
Eddie moving around, looked like he was trying to get the car going, but you can see his left arm forward on the switches. That's a starter button. He's trying to get the engine to start up again.
I don't think he hit anything. Let's see if we can tell.
Well, he's down on the inside. It looks like of Dave Marcus's car, and the back end just breaks loose as he comes around. And there's the Brad Teague, car number 67, going by him. And he almost gets it straightened out. And then it goes down on the inside. He has the wheels locked and just pulls her right down there in the dirt.
So a little bit of contact there with a Dave Marcus car. Here comes several in for pit stops, including Dale Earnhardt. Dick Berggren can report on this.
Well, they're going to put some scuffed tires on Dale Earnhardt's car. They've got nobody down here that's running tires in for them, as is the case with Bill Elliott, but they got a pit full of scuffed tires anyway. Hard to say where they've come from. They're not going to exactly say. Earnhardt has the front pit. That is the advantage. It's the best possible place to pit, but Jeff Bodine is going to beat him out. Earnhardt's going to follow, and Benny Parsons is in the middle.
Earnhardt moving back out. Several others remain on pit road, however. Darrell Waltrip is still in. So is the 21 car of Kyle Petty and the 28 car of Davey Allison. But there is Jeff Bodine, who did pick up a spot in this shuffle out of the pit area. Bill Elliott chose not to come in that time. Let's see if he does this time.
I doubt if he will.
We're seeing 3 different strategies by the first 3 cars. The leader did not pit at all. The second place car, Dale Earnhardt, got 4 tires on the pit stop. The third place car, Jeff Bodine, got 2 tires on the pit stop. So that shuffled everything around. That's going to make it interesting on down the line into the race.
We'll see who has the advantage in all of that when we come back in just a moment to our live coverage of the Delaware 500. 347 laps are completed, and we'll be right back. Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Gary Nelson, Larry Newber, Jerry Punch, and Dick Berggren back at Dover Downs International Speedway as we go back to green in the Delaware 500. 349 laps completed. Bill Elliott in number 9 leads the race, and Jeff Bodine in number 5 is in second position. Now Dale Earnhardt came in for a little bit of a splash and go that has put him in the tail end of the field. He's trying to move up through the traffic and get back in a competitive position, but it is Elliott and Bodine now that are very close. And again, the strategy, Elliott did not choose to come in that time. Jeff took on 2 new tires.
But I can imagine what was going on in the pits. You know, Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine racing close on the racetrack. And then Dale Earnhardt's crew seeing Jeff Bodine leaving the pits and saying, wait a minute, nobody beats us out of the pits. They apparently dropped the jack too soon before all the lug nuts were tight. Dale Earnhardt had to come back in the pits while it was still under caution. That put him way back in the pack. He
has, however, gotten back up to 3rd position. And Davey Allison there in car number 28 is in 4th. The 5th held by Kyle Petty. 6th is Marlin. 7th is Mike Alexander. 8th is Phil Parsons. 9th is Dale Jarrett. 10th is Neil Bonnet. In 11th position is Morgan Shepherd. And in 12th position is Rusty Wallace. Those drivers are 1 lap down. Well, toward the end of the race, we're going to be announcing the Goodyear Eagle driver of the race. And Goodyear will be giving $1,000. The Winston Cup Wives Association in that driver's name, and we will be announcing that in just a few moments. Just out of the hospital is Alan Kulwicki, who had a problem up in turn number 2 in the number 67 car driven by Brad Teague. Has apparently suffered a blown engine and is low on the racetrack down the backstretch. Let's go to Larry Newber, who is with Alan Kulwicki as the yellow flag comes out.
Alan, another yellow flag. We're yet to find out exactly the reason for this one. You took a hard hit. First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You really had an opportunity to win this race today, didn't you?
Well, Bill Elliott was pretty tough, you know, but we were just catching up, trying to make up our lap from when we had blistered a tire earlier. We made up our lap. We were in contention. We were, you know, I was having a pretty good race with Earnhardt there. I think we were as good as anyone except maybe Elliott, you know, and who knows what would have happened, but the Xerox Amico Ford Thunderbird was running great, and we were just one of about 10 people that blew tires today and ended up in the wall.
Alan, unlike many of the drivers, you are also a car owner. Your feelings and your reflections on so many tires being blown.
It's pretty hard to take, you know. I mean, you know, not only did it cost us a chance for a win or good finish in this race, but we wrecked a race car in the process. And it's not like this is the 2nd week in a row it's been happening. It's been happening all year long. We're really a little bit disappointed that the tire companies can't get this solved by now, that people are still crashing cars like this. You know, fortunately, the cars are pretty safe and no one got hurt.
Well, all the leaders are taking this opportunity to duck into pit road.
Indeed they are, Larry. There goes Bill Elliott out of the pits. Davey Allison comes out. So does Jeff Bodine ahead of Davey Allison. And others who are in the top 10 are also moving back out onto the racetrack. We're going to try to contact Davey Allison here on the radio. Davey, this is Bob Jenkins up at ESPN. You got a copy?
Yes, Bob, go ahead.
Davey, last time in the pit stops, there was some contact between you and Jeff on pit road and also on the racetrack. First of all, why? And secondly, we noticed your car dropping back after that. Did you have some damage to the car?
No, Bob. As I was leaving the pits, Jeff pulled out in front of me, and I was going too fast to stop, and we hit on pit road, so I pulled back up beside him to say something to him about it, you know, just to ask him to give me a little room. And as I did, I think he was going to warm up his tires, and we hit down there in the first turn. But you know, it wasn't anything intentional, and the only reason the car has been dropping back has been because the tires just haven't been working out right for us in the last couple of sets. But we think we got a good set on us, Haviland Star Thunderbird now, and we want to go out here and try to get back up closer to the front.
Can you beat Bill Elliott? He's certainly been the fastest car all day. Have you been able to ascertain just how strong he is?
Well, as of this point, we've been running some lap times at certain times during the race that were equal to his best laps. So we don't know if we can beat him or not right now, but we're going to sure give it a try.
All right, Davey, thank you. We'll let you go back to work. Good luck the rest of the race.
Well, thank you, Bob, and I'd like to say hello to my dad and my mom back home and all the family and tell them we'll be there to see them tomorrow.
All right, and we say hello to your family also in Alabama as they are watching this race, I'm sure, on ESPN, and seeing Davey still very much in the thick of things right now, shown in 5th position. Less than 150 laps to go in this afternoon of Winston Cup racing from Dover, Delaware. Still under caution at Dover, and a very relaxed Dale Jarrett is trying to stretch the muscles and relax just a little bit before we go back to green. And Rick Wilson is also relaxing here as we are still under our 10th caution period of the day. Davey Allison has come in again, and we talked to him just a few minutes ago, and he said there was no problems with the car, but indeed the crew is working on the left side of that car to possibly bend out the sheet metal.
You know, they said that they didn't have a problem, or Davey did, but I bet you after that 4-tire stop they just made, they probably saw a real shiny area on one of the tires. That means the tire was rubbing, but not enough to smoke. So it looked to me like they were hammering on the left front fender, trying to just get a little more assurance. Yeah, rather be safe than sorry, especially after what we've seen so far today.
Well, there are only 5 cars in the lead lap, and he certainly will stay in the lead lap. Dale Earnhardt is leading the race for the first time today, I believe. Very important situation for him because it gives him 5 Winston Cup bonus points.
Sure is nice to see Harold Kinder back in the starter stand as he gives them the 1 more lap to go signal. Harold, of course, missed some races during the year because of some surgery on his finger, but he's back in the starter stand, and it's good to see him once again there.
And Bob, speaking of surgery, let's say hello to Shorty Edwards in Catawba, North Carolina, who's the tire expert on the Junior Johnson Budweiser team. Shorty has had a tough time the last month or so. He had back surgery about a month ago, and then the week before last he had to have back surgery again, and has been down. So Shorty, get well quick. Let's go to Jerry Punson in the pits.
We're with Tony Price. Tony, why the extra stop a minute ago? Why'd you bring Davey back in?
He had a little contact with the 5 car on pit road earlier, and it pushed the fender in on the tire, and we could see with the tire we took off that it was cutting, the fender was cutting the tire, so we decided to bring him back in, beat the fender out, and he should be in good shape.
Gary Nelson, you should have been a doctor. You diagnosed it perfectly. Going back to green.
And that was not a Southern accent from Tony Price.
Way down south. That's a New Zealand accent, man.
Okay.
Here comes the field off the 4th corner. Harold Kinder waves the green. We're back to racing. Dale Earnhardt leads the Delaware 500 now. He's got a couple of cars ahead of him as they try to get some laps back, including the number 27 car of Rusty Wallace, and I believe that will put Rusty back in the lead lap, won't it?
Yes, if he can get back in around Dale Earnhardt, it would put him back in the lead lap. He was 2 laps down, and he got by Bill Elliott earlier, and the caution came out, so he was able to get around Dale Earnhardt here, so that's put him back in contention.
And the number 55 car of Phil Parsons is also back on the lead lap.
Wouldn't that be a feat if Rusty Wallace could catch a caution right now, get back in the lead lap, set up a finish with Dale Earnhardt, Bill Elliott, and Rusty Wallace? You know, you can't count them out here at Dover. So many things can happen.
You're absolutely right. That would be quite a story. We'll see if that does happen. There is Elliott trying to move back up to the inside of Terry Labonte in car number 11, and right behind him is the 5 car of Jeff Bodine. Kyle Petty, meanwhile, is right ahead of Bill Elliott. There he is, the number 21 Wood Brothers Citgo Ford. He is in second.
This is the first time today that Bill Elliott really has been caught in traffic on the restart. He's been up front all the time, so he's having to battle through there, but it didn't take him long to move around Kyle Petty, did it?
Well, you know, the pit stops got shuffled with those 3 quick cautions right in a row that we had, and Bill Elliott finally said, well, maybe there won't be many more cautions. They can't keep up, so let me come in and get 4 tires, while Dale Earnhardt stayed on the track that time. That was the reverse of what we saw just at the beginning of that round of pit stops. So I think that Bill Elliott is setting his sights on Dale Earnhardt now, but the reason he is back there is because of the shakeup on the out-of-sync pit stops.
And Elliott is really closing in on Dale Earnhardt, now right behind him in the battle for the lead. There are the first 4 cars. Now we focus in on the battle for the lead. Elliott moves to the inside of Earnhardt. Down the backstretch they go side by side into 3. Bill has the lead again.
Boy, does he show his strength. Now, this is the first time today that he's had to pass any of the front-running cars. He's been out in front, and few cars have passed him and got their laps back, but when the time came that he needed to go, he did it.
You know, back a while ago when Bill Elliott it almost appeared that he let Dale Earnhardt get his lap back. I was questioning that move. Should he have really raced him and kept Earnhardt a lap down. Now I can see the confidence that Bill Elliott has in his car. He just took the wind out of these guys' sails as he went by them all. You know, they were all getting a spark of encouragement. Here comes Bill Elliott and just blows them away.
Kyle Petty is dropping back a little bit as the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine has moved to 3rd now, and the 21 car of Kyle Petty drops back just a little bit. Certainly Jeff Bodine is not out of the race by any means.
You know, there's 2 cars we haven't talked much about today. That is Jeff Bodine and Kyle Petty. They've both been right there, but they haven't been leaders. They've just been inside of the leader. Now, later and later in the race, we're seeing more and more of those 2 cars. So they may be contenders here on into the race.
Well, Jerry Punch has talked to Ernie Elliott, who's Bill Elliott's crew chief. And, Jerry, what kind of confidence do they have in him?
Well, Dad, they're pretty confident here in the Coors pit. In fact, Ernie's sitting here watching his brother Bill, clocking him lap by lap as they come by. And when you consider how dominant Bill has been here, you got to remember they destroyed their good car here early in the week. Let's ask Ernie a little bit about what's going on. And Ernie, you got to feel pretty good. The car seems to be running so well. You're pretty confident about what's going on today.
Well, you know, you can't ever be too confident here. I mean, you know, cars have won races here from 10 laps down with just a few laps to go. So, you know, you just got to run the race. Not worry about it and hope you make it really.
Ernie Elliott here in the pit as Rusty Wallace comes sliding by. And Rusty Wallace will make an unscheduled stop. Let's go down to Dick Burton. Dick? Well, Jerry, as is often the case here today, unscheduled stop due to tires. They're going to change the tires on the right side of Rusty Wallace's car. Hope that's going to help him run a little bit better.
Well, in the last couple of races, if Rusty Wallace had bad luck that he has experienced last week with the crash, and today, just as he was back on the lead lap, the car developed a tire problem, and there you can see Bill Elliott going around him and putting him 2 laps down now. So Rusty Wallace has just had one problem after another here this afternoon. There is Elliott, the leader. Dale Earnhardt runs 2nd. Jeff Bodine is 3rd. Kyle Petty 4th, and Davey Allison 5th. Those 5 cars are still on the lead lap. Back at Dover, where pit stops are being made again because we are in another caution period, the 11th of the afternoon. We'll show you why in just a moment. Let's right now show you Bill Elliott's pit stop. They're changing 4 tires on that car. He's on the top. Dale Earnhardt is on the bottom of the Richard Childress crew, also changing 4 tires on the Dale Earnhardt machine. There goes Bill Elliott pulling away as they continue to work on Dale Earnhardt. And he now moves away from pit road, and here is the reason for the yellow. It is Morgan Shepherd in car number 88. A big puff of smoke from that car. I don't think he hit the wall, but something happened mechanically with that car.
Evidently, the engine let go. You can see a lot of smoke from the car, and he just drove it high up out of the racing groove up next to the wall. A very cool and smart move by Morgan Shepherd to move up on the outside of the racetrack, and you can see the smoke continue to bellow from the car. So apparently the engine did let go on the Red Baron Pizza Oldsmobile.
Morgan Shepherd did not lead a lap today, but he has led for 5 different car owners this year. Tom Winkle himself, the 33 car. Also, he's led in the 75 Raymont car, and he has led races in this particular car that's owned by Buddy Baker. So his car is being pulled off of the racetrack, and now we'll take another break and be right back for more in a moment. 125 laps to go. The field down the backstretch under caution, but we will be going green this next time around as the field begins to get into its restart formation.
And Bob, again, a caution has been to the benefit of one driver, Phil Parsons. In this case, he was in front of Bill Elliott when the caution came out, so that has put him back in the lead lap. We now have 6 drivers in the lead lap. Bill Elliott, the leader. 2nd place is Dale Earnhardt. Jeff Bodine is 3rd. 28th car of Davey Allison is 4th. Kyle Petty, and now Phil Parsons.
And they come down for the green flag. That's Sterling Marlin ahead of Bill Elliott on the racetrack in the high groove. However, Sterling is also not on the same lap as Bill Elliott. Elliott leads. That's Jeff Bodine in the yellow car in 2nd position. And Dale Earnhardt is in 2nd now in car number 3. as he tries to get the lead away from Bill Elliott. Heavy traffic here in the third and fourth turns, 3 abreast racing, and by golly, Dale Earnhardt comes out in the lead.
I'll tell you, if you don't believe that fella has all kind of guts, I mean, you just put him in a race car and drop a green flag and he'll go.
What a move. Look at the second place battle, Jeff Bodine and Bill Elliott. And Bodine has second now as Elliott is caught behind Mike Alexander. Here comes Bodine to the inside. And Elliott looking.
And here's a car spinning down on the inside. Let's see if that's Davey Allison. It looks like another car into the wall up on the outside.
That's Phil Parsons, who has cracked the wall coming out of turn number 4.
And I believe Dale Jarrett's in that as well.
I think it was Davey Allison that got sideways on the low part of the racetrack. Yeah, Dale Jarrett is also involved in the crash. He's moving down the straightaway as Phil Parsons moves through the pit area. Here it is from Dale's in-car camera. Watch ahead.
Okay, there's Terry Labonte slowing down, and Dale might have touched him just a little bit. And here's Phil Parsons hitting Dale Jarrett, and Phil spinning around in front of Dale Jarrett, and Jarrett runs into him, and down on the inside, Davey Allison was crossways, I guess just trying to get by all of them.
A lot of cars involved in that, a lot more than it looked like just from the first view.
And here it is from the outside of our in-car camera. Watch behind Bill Elliott. There it is.
As Davey Allison, you see, he lost it down on the inside of the racetrack, and I guess other cars slowed down behind them, and that's what started Phil Parsons spinning around and then Dale Jarrett hitting him.
And there you can see Dale, who is unstrapping himself and getting out of that car. A tough break. You can see the smoke and the oil on the windshield of that car as Dale climbs out of his car. Well, it's been a very good afternoon. Despite the way it ends, it's been a good day for Dale Jarrett. Dick, let's talk with him.
Well, climbing out of the smoke and steam, Dale Jarrett, until just a few moments ago, it looked like you might have been the winner.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this Hardee's Oldsmobile really ran good today. Give a lot of credit to my crew. Elmo Langley and the guys had me a good race car. We got a little fender banger there in the pits with Alan Kulwicki, got us a lap down, but we still had a good car. We started getting an overheating problem now. I was just having to take it easy, and somebody got into Davey Allison up there, and I went high, and then somebody hit me and knocked me into the wall. So what we thought might be a good day turned out not so good.
Let's give it on to the driver, too. He's done a great job today. Bob?
Yes, he has indeed, but it appears to be all over now for Dale Jarrett. Now, let's watch it again from the in-car camera and listen to the noise. We'll just be silent here as you watch and listen. You can almost feel it, Ned.
Yeah, you really can. You can see Davey Allison's car spinning sideways up ahead of Dale, and then, of course, he tapped the car number 11 of Terry Labonte, but that didn't do any damage to either of them. And then Phil Parsons came on the inside of him, and as they had slowed down, Phil came on the inside and hit Dale and spun in front of him, and around they went and into each other and into the wall.
So no injury there to Dale Jarrett, but he sure was bounced around in that car a lot as he got into the wall, as did Phil Parsons. But both of, at least Parsons, is still in this race. We'll be right back. Still under caution at Dover Downs, our 12th caution period of the afternoon. Let's take a look at the top 10 as we have them right now. The leader is Dale Earnhardt. Jeff Bodine is second, Bill Elliott third, then Davey Allison and Kyle Petty. In sixth position is Sterling Marlin, and seventh is Phil Parsons. Now Marlin is back on the lead lap. Mike Alexander is eighth, Neil Bonnet is ninth, and Rusty Wallace is in 10th position. Well, okay, we've got, let's see, 117 laps to go. Ned, who is going to win the Delaware 500?
Boy, how in the world could
we
you
always
guess anybody
have
else
you
but
pick
Bill?
first.
Yeah, I noticed that. And how can you go against anybody but Bill Elliott, as dominant as that car has been here today? So he's my pick.
All right, Gary.
Well, Ned, since you took Bill Elliott, I'm going to have to go with Dale Earnhardt. I think Dale Earnhardt has shown a lot of potential. He's getting his car better and better. Let's go to Jerry Punch and see what he has to pick.
Well, with 6 of the last 7 races here being won by a Ford, I'll pick a Ford. Just 3 of the top 5 are Fords right now, but I'll go with Bill Elliott. I'm also going to go on that shortly. Elliott's my pick.
Okay, the green comes back out, but we will Watch the restart. Dick Berggren,
Well,
pick
Bob
your winner.
Jenkins, I'll tell you how I can pick the winner. I'm standing in Earnhardt's pit, and nobody in their right mind would argue with these guys. If you're standing here, I'm going to go with Dale Earnhardt. Larry Newber, who do you think's going to win?
Dick, I think that Dale Earnhardt has been holding back something all day long. I think there's more left. He's very tenacious. He wants to win here where he's never won before.
Well, it seems like that we have a split opinion between Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt.
What did you say?
Oh.
We're waiting, Bob.
Bill Elliott. Although I don't count Jeff Bodine out of this thing completely. He's been up there all afternoon. I'm going to say Elliott, but my second pick would be Jeff Bodine. Here comes the field off the fourth corner, and Dale Earnhardt is the leader at the moment with Bodine in second position. Mike Alexander is third in line, and fourth in line there is the number 83 car of Lake Speed.
Well, let me clear this up, Bob. Now, you picked
No. Bill Elliott is going to win.
Okay.
But I like Jeff.
Yeah, but okay, we'll watch and see. It's going to be very interesting, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it is.
Benny Parsons is in the pits with the hood up on his car. Benny's been having a pretty good run here today, but apparently something going wrong with his car.
Here comes Bill Elliott now. He doesn't seem to be moving through the traffic quite as fast as he has in previous times.
I believe he's just biding his time. He's not going to rush through that traffic. He has already passed every car on the racetrack at least one time, and he says, I'll just take it sort of easy here, not taking any unnecessary chances. He's got one more pit stop to make. If this thing goes green the rest of the way, he's going to have to stop one more time. So will everybody else, and so he's not going to abuse that car too much at this point.
That's Davey Allison, by the way, on the far right side of your screen there behind Bill Elliott, and Ricky Rudd in number 26.
Well, you know, just when that caution came out, when Davey Allison spun, and by the way, Davey Allison's right back in the thick of it again. But just before that caution came out, we saw some real jockeying for some positions, really hard racing going on. And I think everybody said, all the crew chiefs have probably talked to these drivers and said, look, it's not over yet. You guys are trying way too hard. You know, just kind of fall into a position that's comfortable, and let's start racing with about maybe 50 laps to go instead of 120 laps to go.
Now there is Rusty Wallace in number 27. He has gotten one lap back. He is still one lap down. He is shown, however, in 8th position. It's been an uphill struggle all afternoon for Rusty Wallace, that's for sure.
Well, he had gotten 2 laps down once before, had just got back in the lead lap, then had to make another unscheduled pit stop, went 2 laps down, then the caution came out, but he got back in front of the leader once again, picked up one of those laps. So, boy, he has really been battling, and that's the characteristics of Rusty Wallace. He's a hustler.
What an uphill struggle for not only for Rusty. He's, I'm sure, going to be very tired at the end of the day. The crew, too, they're hustling. We saw Barry Dodson burning his hand, trying to put the spark plug wire back on. All the problems they've had, it really takes a toll on everybody. You know, fatigue is one of the biggest things we think about in the pit area late in the race. The drivers aren't near as sharp as they were at the beginning of the race. Everybody's tired. We're trying to find scuffed tires to put on the car. Everybody's running around trying to make sure your car stays in contention, getting lost laps back. It's a struggle all day, and everybody is going to be completely worn out at the finish here.
Rusty Wallace has won twice this year in Winston Cup competition. There is Davey Allison, who has won one time this year, just last weekend at Richmond. The lead up front is held by Dale Earnhardt in number 3. There's Jeff Bodine in the yellow and white number 5. Levi Garrett Chevrolet in second position. But there is Bill Elliott, and he has moved through that traffic now and is closing in on Jeff Bodine. That's the number 12 car of Mike Alexander. That is between Bodine and Elliott. Here comes Elliott, though, as he moves to the high side of Alexander into the third turn. And Alexander isn't giving that position away from Jeff Bodine.
No, his car is working good right now. Bodine's car seems to still have a tendency to go up a little bit. And Bob, you said that Davey had won one race. Let's give him the race at Michigan a little bit earlier, too. He has 2 wins to his credit so far this year.
All right. And there is Bill Elliott now, who has gone into second position, passing Jeff Bodine. And so now there is a car between first and second, Mike Alexander. However, Elliott is beginning to close in once again on Dale Earnhardt.
Well, Elliott has just sort of bided his time coming up through that traffic, not taking any unnecessary chances whatsoever. We're putting the clock on Bill Elliott, see how fast he is running as he's running in traffic, pulling up on Mike Alexander there now, but he's not pushing that car to its full ability at all.
a lap to get an idea of how fast the pace is at this point. He crosses the line and stops the clock in 25.3 seconds.
Now, if you clock him the next time around, he'll be going faster because he has moved around Mike Alexander, who was holding him up a little bit.
And now clear sailing between Elliott and Dale Earnhardt.
That really was a good lap time this late in the race. I was really surprised. I think more and more rubber is going down into the racing surface and causing the cars to run faster and faster. That was a good lap time for this late in the race.
Now we're timing Dale Earnhardt to see how his lap compares with that of Bill Elliott.
Now, I got my stopwatch going on Bill Elliott, so we'll see just how they do compare on this same lap as they circle around the racetrack. Earnhardt running a good line now around the track.
Off the fourth corner, Earnhardt will stop the clock in 25.9 seconds. What'd you get, Ned?
25.87, so not too much difference in the speed of the two cars.
Yep, just about the same. Well, Dick Bergeron is down in the pit area with a guy who's had another very good race. He had an extremely strong race in Darlington, had a good one here today, Benny Parsons.
Yeah, it's been a while since he's won, but Benny Parsons is still one of the most popular drivers in the field. Benny, what happened? What put you out?
Something happened to the clutch, Dick. They had a restart. I shifted to third gear, and there wasn't anything there. I dropped in high, and it would accelerate a little bit, but the clutch would slip. I just had to stop.
What do you think about the leaders, Benny? Who looks best to you?
I never saw him all day. Who is the leader? I mean, I was back there in a race with 5 or 6 cars all day. That's all I ever saw. I would make a pit stop, and I'd come out right with them again.
There's Benny Parsons in the garage area. He's going to watch the race along with the rest of us and find out for sure who's going to win this thing.
All right, and at the moment, Dale Earnhardt is the leader with Bill Elliott in second position, and there are exactly 100 laps to go. 400 are complete in the 500-lap, 500-mile Delaware 500. We'll be back to resume our live coverage right after these messages. The crowd is on its feet watching this tremendous battle for third position between Jeff Bodine in car number 5 and Davey Allison in number 28. Davey has made a real bid for this third spot here. He's been underneath Jeff Bodine for the last few laps. Jeff is holding him off, but I tell you, Davey is right there and looking for that third spot.
And so is Sterling Marlin, who has gotten back in the thick of it. He got back in the lead lap, and so he's right there in the thick of that battle. But meanwhile, Bill Elliott has caught Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, Bill Elliott closing in on Dale Earnhardt. You know, the last time we saw Elliott go around Dale Earnhardt, he just kind of flew by him. This time, it looks like he's taking a lot more time with him. Maybe this set of tires isn't quite as good on Elliott's car, and maybe this set of tires is a lot better on Dale Earnhardt's car.
Here we go again, 3-car battle for third spot. Bodine, Davey Allison, and Sterling Marlin in car number 44. Davey Allison might have him this time. Yes, indeed. Davey has third position now. Bodine back to fourth. Here comes Sterling Marlin. We have a crash.
Eddie Beerswall on the backstretch, car number 23.
He may have had some contact with the wall or another car because the right side of that car is damaged. Now they'll race back to the yellow. Bodine pulls ahead of Davey Allison now. Let's see who wins the battle for the top spot. Earnhardt retains it.
But we don't have a yellow.
No.
Evidently, Beerswall was able to get down out of the traffic, and so we had no yellow that time, so they just continued to race.
All right, Beerswale is at the bottom of the racetrack, making his way toward pit road. He's out of the danger of anybody else on the track, so no yellow. And Allison has dropped 2 positions in that little exchange there.
Well, you almost saw Davey let off the gas when his crew said the yellow's going to be out. There's a wreck. Davey let off the gas. Jeff Bodine and Sterling Marlin shot right back by him.
Now Marlin and Bodine are going at it. We're trying to keep track of all the battles on the racetrack. Marlin now to the inside of Bodine in turn number 2, and Sterling Marlin moves to third place. Here comes Davey, though. As you indicated, Gary, I think he just backed off because he thought there was going to be a yellow, but now he says, okay, it's still green, and here we go. Now the lead is being contested as Elliott is trying to take over the top spot from Dale Earnhardt. Where do you look on this racetrack? There's action everywhere.
Well, there certainly is, and Bill Elliott now has decided to make that move. Earnhardt's car slipping a little high in the turns, and Elliott taking advantage of it.
Oh, but he doesn't get the lead just yet as Earnhardt battles right back on the outside. Here they come off of the fourth corner there, door handle to door handle. Earnhardt does lead this lap, which is lap 409, and Elliott now decides to fall back into second position. Look at this, though. It's the 5 and 28 battle that's going on for fourth spot now as Sterling Marlin has nailed down third. Davey Allison on the bottom of the racetrack and Jeff Bodine high in this contest for fourth.
Kyle Petty now has just moved up right behind them, so he's in the thick of that battle as well.
I can't believe the racing this late in the race. This is not Dover. To see this kind of racing this late, this is really, I think it's you know, so many cautions we've had today. It's hard to imagine these guys this close, this late in the race.
There isn't a fan in this entire facility that is not standing, watching the battles on the racetrack. Here is Allison passing Jeff Bodine, and Davey Allison now goes to fourth.
Allison has fought quite a bit of adversity here today himself. We've seen him in 2 near spins, but he didn't go around either time. Coming off of the fourth turn, he had a right rear tire go flat one time and got bumped one time, and managed to hold on to the car without spinning completely around. And they've continued to work on that Havoline Star Ford Thunderbird and got him back in the thick of the battle. Now Kyle Petty trying to move on the inside of Lake Speed. Lake is at least 1 lap down, maybe a couple, but Kyle running in the 6th position. Jeff Bodine running in 5th at the moment. Kyle wants to get up there and get back on the leaderboard.
What do you guys think? Davey Allison's had 2 half spins today. Should we credit him with 1 full spin, or just?
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, 2 90s equal 1 or whatever. Now we see Kyle Petty right behind Jeff Bodine. Benny, are you with us down in Pit Central?
Yes, Bob Jenkins. I'm here watching. I've got about 100 yards I can see.
Oh, I tell you, we've seen some great racing out there. Now we've had apparently another incident as the yellow may come out again. It's down the backstretch.
And the yellow flag is out.
We don't know who's involved at the moment. There it is. It's the number 10 car of Ken Bouchard, who has crashed and is against the inside wall on the backstretch. We see him moving around in the cockpit. Apparently he's okay. He's hanging up the goggles on the rearview mirror, so apparently Ken is okay, but it does bring out another caution period, our 13th of the afternoon. We're 75 laps from the end. I guess, guys, this could be considered the final fuel stop if we can go the rest of the way now on fuel.
Yeah, I think we're 85 laps from the end of the race.
Right.
We've completed 415, and yes, they should be able to go the rest of the way as far as fuel is concerned.
There's the Bouchard car. He was running in what?
17th position when he had this misfortune. Of course, he's the top rookie contender on the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit this year. He was having a good run. It moved into the top 20 and had hung in there all day until he had this problem.
You know, if I were the crew chief on any one of these contenders, I would consider this, I would treat this as if it were the last caution of the day. I would put my best set of tires on the car right now and fill it up with gas. Let's go to Jerry Punch in the pits.
Bill Elliott brings the Coors 4 down pit road. Bill Elliott on the top, Dale Earnhardt on the bottom. The right side tires on the Dale Earnhardt car. Likewise, same on the Bill Elliott car. Down the Elliott crew. Going to the left side. Earnhardt's crew already on the left side of the car. It'll be a race out of the pits. This may be the final pit stop of the day. Left side tires already on. The Goodrich Chevrolet. Earnhardt is down and away. Elliott's car now off the jack. Earnhardt will win the race in the pits, and Mike Alexander will be the 3rd car down pit road.
Here comes Davey Allison out of the pits. Jeff Bodine also leaving the pit area as what could be the last series of pit stops has occurred. The record speed in this race is 124.706, and before we had this most recent caution, the average speed of this race 108.601. It's a slow race, and it's even slower now because of this 14th, make that 13th caution period of the afternoon. Still under caution because of the Ken Bouchard crash on the backstretch. Let's try to talk to Rusty Wallace here. Rusty, this is Bob Jenkins. You got a copy?
Go ahead.
Rusty, you have had adversity after adversity, but on the other hand, you have battled and scraped your way back. How do you assess what's going on right now? Do you have a chance?
I got a chance. We got a lot of laps left. You know, it's only lap 418. One lap in, and I'm sitting in a good position right now. Whenever he starts the race, I'll be in the inside lane up front on fresh tires. And that's the way I got both other laps back. Earnhardt's pretty strong right now, so I'll see what happens. If I get this lap back this next time, we might be looking pretty good. Let's hope.
Have most of your problems involved the tires situation?
Yeah, really. I've had a couple flat tires. Had a blister tire the first of the race. Probably didn't have the car set just right, you know, and it was pushing a lot. But other than that, yeah, it's been tire related, but I don't know if it's been Goodyear's fault or not.
Okay, Rusty, back to work. We'll talk to you later, hopefully, and best of luck the rest of the way.
All right, thank you very much.
Let's try to talk to Mike Alexander. Mike, this is Bob Jenkins at ESPN. You got a copy on me? All right, we'll try it again. Mike Alexander, this is Bob Jenkins. You copy me? Well, apparently we can't get through to him, but some good comments from Rusty Wallace there. Maybe we can contact Davey Allison. Davey, this is Bob Jenkins again. You copy?
Yes, Bob, go ahead.
All right, you're, I assume, set for the finish of the race, providing we go the rest of the way on green. Can you win it?
Well, we feel like we've got a real good shot at it. Every time we get on a good set of tires, caution comes out right away, and we don't get to make any progress. So, you know, right now we're on another good set of tires that we saved from the first of the race, and we feel like we're in good shape for the end. But there's a couple of guys up there that's pretty tough. You know, Dale Earnhardt and Bill Elliott, both are real tough competitors, and also Rusty Wallace and Jeff Bodine.
Davey, this has been a Ford racetrack in previous years. Would you think that Elliott or Earnhardt are the strongest at the moment?
Well, I think it's pretty even between all five of the top five cars right now, and it'd be kind of hard to pick a favorite for the end.
All right, we'll let you go and wish you the best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Yellow is still out with 70, make that 80 laps to go as 420 have been completed here at Dover. Once again, the green flag has just gone out and racing is resuming. The field moving through the first and second corners as down the backstretch we see that Rusty Wallace is at the moment on the lead lap, and he's still trying to hang on to that, but Dale Earnhardt would like to put him a full lap down, but Rusty stays right in there and stays for the moment on the lead lap. Sterling Marlin has been black flagged. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Well, apparently Sterling Marlin was brought into the pit area here. They had black flagged him for a penalty. Boy, I'll tell you, talk about a comedy of errors. They really had problems. They had come in earlier on the caution flag for tires. They didn't have any. He went out, he inherited the lead. Then they were looking for their tires. Then he changed the tires. It could have been his race, but not today. Bob?
All right, three cars battling for the lead here. Two especially, Earnhardt and Elliott. Elliott has the lead on the outside of the racetrack. Second is Earnhardt, and third is Jeff Bodine. Mike Alexander is also in the thick of things in car number 12.
Okay, he looked awfully strong just before that last caution came out when Earnhardt and Bill Elliott were battling for the lead. Mike Alexander was right there trying to get his lap back. Now, he is one lap down, but he has really been strong here in the last 100 miles or so.
Benny Parsons has dropped out of the race. He's joined us, though, in pit central. Benny, this is not a typical Dover race as we've talked about. First of all, we had the early tire problems that no one anticipated. And to see the action between these guys this late in the race is really unusual for this place.
This is unbelievable. I tell you, I've never seen a Dover like this. And I don't care where you're talking about. If you're talking about first or the race for 10th, it seems like they're all running absolutely the same speed.
Yeah, we had a great battle going on for the lead about 15 or 20 laps ago. There was also a great battle going on for third position. But right now, Bill Elliott is showing the way. And I'll tell you, it'd be awful hard to choose against him. We asked everybody on the broadcast team a little while ago who they thought were going to win. Now that you've had a chance to watch a little bit of the race, who do you think has got the strongest car out there?
It looks like right now Bill Elliott. But listen, Rusty Wallace has made up, you told me a moment ago, 3 laps today. So if he can make up 3 laps, he is a car to be reckoned with.
We're watching Rick Wilson from the in-car camera go behind the wall because of apparently an overheating problem. They've been trying to cool off the engine of that car for quite some time. but he apparently has given up and is back in the garage area. So the Kodak number 4 car driven by Rick Wilson is out of the race.
Yes, Bob Jenkins, the car was running as it went by me, but there was water coming out the overflow. It was an overheating problem.
Here comes the number 3 car of Earnhardt battling with Mike Alexander. Not for position, though. Dale is just simply trying to put Alexander behind him so that he'll have clear sailing between himself and the leader, Bill Elliott. But now Earnhardt slipped just a little bit, and Alexander pulls away just a little. Let's go to Larry Newber quickly for some comments on the
Bob,
tires.
this is almost a question for Benny. Benny, I've heard from 3 car owners in the last 15 minutes who said, we are only comfortable going 35 or 40 laps on a set of tires. Now, everybody has enough fuel to go the distance, but do you suppose if we stay green, that everybody will go to the end on the set of tires they have right now?
They will try it. Now, whether or not they can make it or not, that's another thing, but they will try it. The question I've got for you guys, has Bill Elliott had any tire trouble today?
No. As a matter of fact,
nothing major.
Yeah.
Early in the race, he had some blisters on the outside of, in fact, the first set of tires that he took off of the car. But since then, we have not seen any kind of tire problems on his car.
Did you, Benny, have tire problems during the race?
Yes, I did. I blistered. One time I stopped and both the right sides were blistered, the right front and the right rear. So, you know, when you have a situation like that, there's not too much you can adjust. You just put another set on and hope that you can feel it when it happens. And fortunately, the 2 times I did have a problem with tires today, I felt it made a pit stop.
Now we see Jeff Bodine in car number 5 and Davey Allison in car number 28. They're separated by a little bit of racetrack, but they are running in 3rd and 4th position. And those tire problems, Benny, were a surprise to us. Were they a surprise to you? We didn't see evidence of a tire problem during practice or qualifying.
You're right. There was never any forewarning that we was going to have tire problems. The temperature was cool. The wear was good. I really don't know exactly what happened, but I don't know if you guys if ESPN gives an award for the greatest driving job or whatever, but I was behind Davey Allison about 50 laps ago. And let me tell you, folks, I don't know if you got to see it on the screen or not, but he had the little fella about 90 degrees sideways and saved it. Unbelievable.
Yeah, we do give an award for driver of the race, so we'll consider that as your candidate for such an honor.
Thank you.
Well, Benny, this is Gary Nelson in the booth. You know, this week you and I had a chance to test a vibration tester down in Atlanta while we were doing some testing. And I think this would be a really good place to have one of those, don't you?
Oh, it'd be terrific, especially, you know, you feel a problem and you don't know exactly what it is. And, you know, when you know there's tire problems going on, you're an idiot to stay out there. But yet when you stop and there's nothing wrong, the crew says you're an idiot. So you've really got a problem. And when you don't know if the vibration is severe enough to come in, that indicator that you had would have told me, hey, I do have some chunks out of this right front. It's vibrating badly enough to set off this machine. That means I got to go in the pit.
Gary, is this something that NASCAR is looking at as we look at the leader, Bill Elliott?
Well, we're just developing it. This was our first real test with it in Atlanta. What it is 4 little red lights. Each one is marked for a different tire on the car. Right front, right rear, and left front. And when the rubber starts chunking off a tire or it equalizes, it will turn on that light just from the extra vibration. The driver may feel a slight vibration, like Benny's saying, and not be sure. This light would tell you if you did have a problem.
Very interesting. There's second place Dale Earnhardt. And the leader, Bill Elliott. There you can see an indication of how much space separates the two. Elliott moving to the outside and putting in lap on Sterling Marlin, taking his lap back, but Rusty Wallace is still ahead of Bill Elliott and therefore technically on the lead lap, as there you can see Rusty coming out of corner number 4 ahead of Elliott.
Now Elliott is gaining a little bit on Rusty, but not a great deal. Rusty is running his heart out right now, hoping for a caution flag so that he can get back in the thick of this battle. Elliott has driven away from Dale Earnhardt, who is running in second place, but has not been able to catch up to Rusty and put him a lap down.
So Rusty would certainly like to see a piece of debris on the racetrack that would necessitate a caution that would allow him to encircle the entire racetrack and be right up there for the win. At the moment, though, it's Bill Elliott as we have completed 439 laps, and we'll be right back. There's the leader of the Delaware 500, Bill Elliott, as he has a couple of second lead over Dale Earnhardt. Third is Jeff Bodine. Fourth is Davey Allison. And fifth is Kyle Petty.
And Jeff Bodine, who was running in third place, has dropped back. Davey Allison has now moved into third. Bodine's car has slowed down, and Gary, it looks like he might have lost a cylinder or something.
It appears that it's something in the engine. You know, we don't see tire smoke. We don't really see anything, but it is visibly running slower than it has been. So I would say he's lost a cylinder. He's not coming into the pit. So he hasn't come to the pit so far. So maybe Jerry punch in Jeff Bodine's pits can update us.
Well, we're standing beside Waddell Wilson, and Waddell, the car seems to be smoking a little bit and slowing down. What's the problem?
We just went on 7 cylinders. You know, we had tried to keep the car in the lead lap all day and tried to keep the blister tires, and it's always in good shape, but now we've gone on 7 cylinders. So, you know, it's just a bad way to end the day.
You could hear it in Waddell Wilson's voice. The car on 7 cylinders. They tried all day to stay in the lead lap, and now it's not going to work that way for them these final few laps.
Jeff beginning to drop back now as Elliott continues to run very, very strong in that Coors Motorcraft Ford. And he is now 55 laps away from the checkered flag. Rusty Wallace right ahead of him.
Trying vainly to stay in the lead lap, and has done a good job of it so far. He just needs a caution.
Boy, what muscle. Rusty really is shown some muscle today, making up all the laps with all the problems. Now he is holding off Bill Elliott. Elliott, you know, obviously not trying as hard as it would be for the win right now, but Elliott still isn't putting Rusty away like you would think he has. Let's go down to Jerry Punch with a comment on the Rusty Wallace.
You know, I talked to Rusty Wallace earlier in the week. He said, we're in sort of a gunfight here this last few races on the point battle, and so I've got to bring the best race car I've got. He said basically what happened was we brought a cannon to a gunfight today. This car won at Michigan, finished second at Darlington, finished second at Michigan, and finished second at Charlotte. It has a win and 3 seconds. It has not finished any worse than second this year. He said we need to finish second or better here today.
Well, it's this time of the year that you got to put your best foot forward, no question about it. I'm sure that they would like to have saved that car for the Oakwood Homes 500 at Charlotte, North Carolina in a couple of weeks, but now that he got in the point situation, losing points last week at Richmond, Virginia, they just had to put their best shot out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, there are so many drivers out on the racetrack that could win our Driver of the Race award. Let me mention just a few. Rusty Wallace, from battling back from many adversities. Davey Allison, who had a couple of near spins, had the car completely sideways once and saved it. You also got to think of Dale Earnhardt, who didn't have a particularly good qualifying, but he's in second position. You got to also think of maybe Kyle Petty or Jeff Bodine. But in our opinion, the Goodyear Eagle Driver of the Race is Bill Elliott. So Goodyear will be sending a check for $1,000 in his name. It will be from a very good driver to a very good cause. And the reason that we've got to choose Bill Elliott, he has just been in total command of this race, really from the drop of the green flag.
Oh, you're right, Ned. Bill Elliott, you know, there are a lot of candidates for that award. It would be a tough decision, but Bill Elliott has dominated 100% almost of this race. Bill Elliott has been a factor or been in the lead. So, yeah, I agree.
And there is Earnhardt, who once again is side by side with Mike Alexander. And Mike Alexander just won't give up. I mean, he is hanging right in there. There goes Earnhardt to the inside and passing. But there's another possible candidate for driver of the race, Mike Alexander, who's had a very strong performance.
Yeah, he's running in 7th position right now. He's back down as a result of a green flag pit stop about 200 miles or so ago and just hasn't been able to make that lap up, but he has raced with the leaders since then, doing a great job in filling the big shoes of Bobby Allison. And I don't mean that Bobby Allison has big feet. I mean that he is such a great race driver, and those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, you know, I think the Stavola brothers made a very, very good choice in choosing Mike Alexander to fill Bobby's shoes while he is away, hopefully temporarily, from the Winston Cup scene. Now we'll review the top 10 for you here with just about 50 laps to go in this one, and we'll be back in just a moment. Closing laps of the Delaware 500 with Bill Elliott in the lead. The number 27 car of Rusty Wallace is in 6th position on the lead lap, but just by barely. So Elliott is in the lead. We're going to pan back here and give you an idea of who is still on the racetrack and hopefully tell you what position they are in. Behind Bill Elliott on the track, as he goes into corner number 1, let's find out who is the next car behind him.
Dale Earnhardt, who's running in second place.
Second position, Dale Earnhardt, and behind him is Mike Alexander.
And he currently is running in the 7th position.
Although he is a lap down. There's Earnhardt.
There's still 6 cars on the lead lap. Sterling Marlin now is coming into the pits with smoke coming from the Piedmont Airlines Oldsmobile. And behind the car number 12 is the 28 car of Davey Allison, who is currently running in the 3rd position.
So those 3 guys are running right together on the racetrack in contention for the 2nd and 3rd positions. Now behind Davey Allison is the number 83 car of Lake Speed.
And Lake is running in the top 10. In fact, I think he's being shown in 9th position at the moment.
Phil Parsons has had contact with the wall up in corner number 4 during the course of the afternoon, but is still very much in the thick of things. The number 11 car of Terry Labonte has not really been in contention for most of the afternoon, but Terry is still out there on the racetrack. Behind him, we have one of those running in the top 5. That is Kyle Petty, who is currently in 4th position.
And next in line will be, and it looks like Michael Waltrip has a problem up on turn 4. Ricky Rudd would be the next car in line out on the track. We don't see a caution coming as Michael Waltrip dramatically slowed as he came off of turn 4. And here's Darrell Waltrip. He's had a lot of problems today, but he's still out there in the running.
Including a badly cracked windshield and a couple of laps with the hood up on the car that he couldn't see anything.
And Terry Labonte's in the wall down in turn 1.
So Terry Labonte brings out another caution period. Here comes Rusty Wallace down the straightaway. No yellow yet. Well,
Rusty was hoping for it. Now the caution is out, but Rusty's going to have to run hard all the way around because the caution came out behind him.
Yep.
Now, we don't know if there's any debris over there on the racetrack where he had his problems or not. Terry Labonte's down on the inside of the racetrack out of the way. So Rusty Wallace running hard back to the start-finish line.
He has really got the pedal to the metal. Here he comes off the 4th corner. I think he's going to beat Bill the flag. Yes, indeed. Rusty Wallace now is on the lead lap.
And Bill Elliott blew a tire just as he went across the start-finish line. He hit something and blew a tire on the Coors Ford. He didn't spin or anything like that, but just as he went across the start-finish line, there was some metal there, and he ran over it and blew a tire.
Sounded like a cannon went off. I mean, that thing really exploded. And so Elliott is slow on the racetrack, but he'll be able to get back into the pit area and probably not lose a lap because of this. But, boy, that could have been a very disastrous situation for Bill.
Boy, it certainly could have been, and his heart had to be up in his throat about that time.
Let's see what happens here. Elliott obviously is going to come in for a pit stop to change that tire. There it is, the right rear. Here it is once again, Ned.
Okay, as they race down the start-finish line, Rusty Wallace crosses, and Bill Elliott just gets across the start-finish line and runs across something, and wham, that tire blows out on him. He gets it down to the inside of the racetrack, and let's go to Jerry Punch in his pits.
Well, they have to forcibly pick up the right side of the car, and the right rear tire is just absolutely shredded. They roll it away, and they have already changed the right side tires. They're trying to pull that right rear fender away because, along with cutting the tire down, it has bent the fender in somewhat. Dale Earnhardt is also in. Elliott down, 4-tire change, and Earnhardt's car now on the deck. Race down pit road. Bill Elliott will beat Earnhardt out, and then, of course, the rest of the field moving back to turn 1.
Well, we wonder about that move. Bill Elliott only changing 2 tires, doing heavy body repairs to that right rear quarter panel where the fender had been pushed in. Maybe he'll come back in this time for left sides and more body work.
Well, it looks like it might have just blown that fender away. There you can see the debris that he apparently ran over and caused that tire to blow.
So real developments here. It certainly isn't over until it's over. We'll take a look at it once again. Rusty wins the race to the stripe, and just after he crossed the line, Elliott runs over the metal. There you can see the metal that he actually ran over, and the tire go, and that spelled some problems for Elliott. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, this is Bill Elliott's right rear tire. Take a look at the damage here. I mean, a tremendous amount of damage, but the Goodyear inner liner, this inside tire is still popped up, and that's what allowed Bill Elliott to come back around with minimal damage on the car. A shredded right rear tire, but Elliott fortunate enough to have the inner liner. He made it back to pit road. Let's go to Dick Berggren. Dick? Jerry, watch Dale Earnhardt run faster right now. He has just changed the right front, right rear tires. Look at the right front. It had a blister on it. In fact, there were several of them. He ought to go a lot better now once the green flag comes out.
All right, well, we have seen tire problems occur within about 30 laps, and we have got 34 laps to go in this race. We are under caution, and we'll be right back to Dover. The Delaware 500 from Dover Downs International Speedway being brought to you by Gates, a trusted name in automotive products for over 75 years. By Pontiac Grand Prix, the 1988 Motor Trend Car of the Year. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. Caution remains out as they continue to clean up the racetrack. And there is the number 5 car. We're not sure who's leading this race at the moment. The scoreboard is showing Jeff Bodine as the leader and Bill Elliott second, and that's what you think, Ned.
Well, that's what I thought, Bob, because now that Jeff has pulled to the inside, I thought that he had stayed in the lead lap. We had documented the fact that he had slowed down when he lost a cylinder, but I thought he was just about to be lapped by Bill Elliott before this caution came out, but apparently he had been lapped one time before because he has pulled down to the inside of the racetrack, and Jeff Bodine would not have pulled down to the inside had he not been a lap down. Let's go to the pits quickly for Jerry Punch.
Well, we are told that Jeff Bodine is indeed the leader, but the Coors crew has already come up and talked to Waddell Wilson, said, hey, you guys are on 7 cylinders, so when the green comes out, please pull down and let us come by. And they said, no doubt about it. We'll be down out of the way when the green comes out, and Bill Elliott will take the green, and we'll head back for it.
All right, so a sportsman-like gesture on the part of the Jeff Bodine team, as he does indeed have a tough time getting up to speed, as now we watch up front and the battle for the lead. Now, Bill Elliott is the leader with Dale Earnhardt running in second. Then comes Davey Allison. 4th place belongs to Kyle Petty, and in 5th is Rusty Wallace. And here they all come off the 4th corner. I don't think you can count Rusty Wallace out of this race, huh, guys?
Oh, no, not at all. The way he has fought his way back, he's made up 4 laps so far here today. And look at Kyle Petty move on the inside of Davey Allison, taking over the 3rd position.
Yeah, but Rusty Wallace is the one on the move. Look at him go under Davey. He's already passed about 4 cars in the first lap since the restart.
Yep.
Back in the lead lap after all of this uphill climb all day. He's back in the lead lap in contention.
Bill Elliott just turned that last lap at 25 3/10 seconds, which is pretty quick after 471 miles.
Now that's about the same time that he registered, about 100 laps ago when we timed it at that time also. But so Rusty Wallace now is in 4th position, and Davey Allison is back to 5th. What do you think about Rusty's chances, Benny? It's pretty impressive, isn't he?
He has been very impressive, Bob. The only negative that I got to say about it, in making the 4 laps up, he was able to pull down on that inside lane and pull up alongside the leader, and it made it a little bit easier to pass. Right now, Rusty Wallace has got to pass a lot of cars, including Earnhardt and Elliott. He's not going to pass him on the caution flag. He has literally got to drive by him. That's going to be tough.
Yeah, it certainly is, but as you can see, he's closing in now on Kyle Petty. I think maybe Mike Alexander ran into a problem over there in the 2nd corner. That car dropped low on the racetrack. Maybe not. Maybe it was Bobby Hillin Jr.
Well, Bobby Hillin Jr. has had a lot of problems today. He's been in and out the pits. He has stayed out there, but he has had a lot of problems. Now Bill Elliott has picked the pace up. He turned the last lap in 25 8/10 seconds and pulling away 25.85 this last time around. Gary, that's moving around here this late in the race.
Late in the race, I think, the thing about Elliott is he had a flat right rear tire just when he took the caution ride, but they only changed 2 tires. Dale Earnhardt behind him, and really falling back, has 4 new tires. So we're seeing a lot of muscle from Bill Elliott with 2 fresh tires and 2 hotter tires on the left side.
Well, apparently he has the left side set of tires on there that he wants. You made the comment when they pitted at about 85 laps to go that you would put on your best set of tires now, assuming that the race would go the balance of the way. Well, probably Bill Elliott's crew did put on their best set of tires, and at least they left the left side on there. And then the right side, of course, had to be changed when he blew out the way.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Ned. Elliott's crew has to have an awful lot of confidence in the left side tires. There's, 24 laps to go, but he's pulling away from Dale Earnhardt. Kyle Petty is almost gaining a little bit on Dale Earnhardt, and he's bringing Rusty Wallace along with him.
Well, Gary, let's correct ourselves. We have a report from Jerry Punch that Bill Elliott did put on 4 tires when he made that tire change. They worked a little while there on the right rear, pulling that fender away, but they did go over and change the left side tires too. So all of what we were saying went out the window. 4 new tires.
They come down the straightaway. There's first, there's second, Dale Earnhardt. There's the interval between the two. Then back to Kyle Petty, Rusty Wallace, and Davey Allison. Those 5 very much in the race. Again, we'll show you the separation between first and second. Elliott pulling away just a little bit from Dale Earnhardt as both Kyle Petty and Rusty Wallace begin to close in on Dale.
You know, the funny thing, or not really funny, but the thing that really amazes me about that flat tire that Bill Elliott had was nobody saw the debris on the track. It just got there, and once he ran over it, it was obviously a big piece of metal. Maybe that had something to do with Terry Labonte's problem going into turn 1. Maybe that came loose from his car and just started running down the racetrack, and Elliott didn't have a chance to see it or to make a correction. Let's go to Jerry Punch one more time.
We mentioned that Bill Elliott came in and did make a 4-tire change. The concern in the Elliott pit is this. Early in the race, Bill Elliott was running sticker tires, brand new tires. That's when he had his only tire problem of the day, when a right rear tire blistered. And they've been running scuff tires for most of the afternoon. When they made this final pit stop, they had to go back and put on 4 brand new sticker tires. They are concerned because, remember, 35 left in the race early on, they blistered a sticker tire. And they realize also that Earnhardt put on scuff tires. Earnhardt should be okay, but they are quite a bit concerned here in the Coors pit.
Well, of course, they had 35 laps to go when the green flag came back out. Actually, a little less than that. There was 36 laps to go when the caution came out. So maybe he can stretch it that far.
Now here are both Kyle Petty and Rusty Wallace catching Dale Earnhardt. This is second, third, and fourth right here. Earnhardt definitely losing ground to both Petty and Rusty Wallace. And we may have a battle shaping up here momentarily for that second position. Benny, these guys have got to be wore out after almost 500 laps. Was it really straining on you out there?
It was, Bob, because the tires are sticking so well. The cars are adhering to the racetrack so well that your neck and your back is taking a tremendous amount of punishment. We were talking about Jerry Punch made the report that Bill Elliott changed 4 tires, and he's concerned. I think, Ned, you can see from up on top better than I, but he's driving like he's concerned. He squirted out to a lead, and he's not trying to pull away right now. As a matter of fact, I think he's letting Earnhardt gain on him right now.
Yeah, I think you're right, Benny. He pulled out there, got himself a good lead, and now he has slowed down about 0.4 of a second over what he was running when he was pulling away, and just sort of sitting there riding. And I'm sure that he's watching his rearview mirror, and also his crew is keeping up with what's going on, telling him what's going on back there as far as the speed that those cars are running. We'll get the interval this time by as Earnhardt comes along. He's a second and a half behind Bill Elliott. And he is actually gaining because he was a little over 2 seconds ahead just a few moments ago. But I believe it is because that Elliott has slowed down, not that Earnhardt has picked up.
Well, if you were thinking about going to the refrigerator for a cold drink, please delay that movement because you may miss a pass for the lead here. Elliott definitely losing ground here, and Dale Earnhardt is closing in. Let's see if that's about the same, maybe just a tick of the watch more of an interval, but nevertheless, Dale Earnhardt, Kyle Petty, and Rusty Wallace are definitely making a race out of it with Bill Elliott, who has pretty much dominated this race from the drop of the green flag. We'll be right back. There are 12 laps to go in the Delaware 500. Bill Elliott is the leader. Dale Earnhardt is running second. Kyle Petty is third. Rusty Wallace fourth. And Davey Allison is in fifth position. Coming up right after our live telecast of this race, the Maryland Million, the richest day on the racing calendar, with $1 million in purses and awards. That will be right after our coverage of this Winston Cup race. 10 laps to go next time, and this has pretty much settled down now into a single file formation here, as nobody is willing at the moment, or perhaps unable to, make a pass. There's Rusty Wallace moving to the high side of Kyle Petty in turn number 4. Rusty will indeed go into third place. So maybe Rusty says, I'm going to let it all hang out here and try to move up as quickly as possible. Now the first 3 on the racetrack are the first 3 in Winston Cup points.
Boy, that is amazing, especially Rusty Wallace. Look at what he's gone through today. Now he's moved himself right into third place. You're right, Bob. The three-point leaders are running 1, 2, and 3 on the racetrack.
Evidently, Kyle Petty has felt a little bit of a vibration or something. He's slowed a little bit from what he was running. He was challenging Earnhardt there not too many laps ago for second place, and now he's really dropping back. So apparently he feels a tire sort of going away on him.
Davey Allison moves to 4th, and Kyle goes back to 5th. There's the leader, and there is the second group, led by Dale Earnhardt, but the laps are clicking off. Kyle Petty is making a pit stop, we understand. A tough break for Kyle, who ran so strong all day for the Wood brothers. But just here in the last 5 laps, things go wrong with that Citgo Ford, and he comes in for a pit stop that is really going to spell disaster for him.
Well, they're going to the right side to change tires on the Citgo Ford, and so he must have had a tire that he felt was going down or either blistering or something. In fact, there was a good bit of heat on the right front of the tire as they took it off.
7 laps to go. There is Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace and Davey Allison, and there is Bill Elliott on the backstretch.
Well, Elliott, just after when he took the lead, or after he was moving away from Dale Earnhardt, he was turning about 24 8/10 seconds. He slowed down to about 26 2/10 seconds now after he got out there in front. Slowed down by about 4/10 of a second, conserving those tires.
If Bill Elliott wins, it'll be his 6th victory of the year. It will be his 29th career victory in Winston Cup competition.
Boy, this is really a Bill Elliott track. I gotta think that, you know, it's a Ford track with a Bill Elliott style racetrack. He's been thinking all day. He's pretty much stayed out of trouble that one lap. All the other problems happening all around him, but he's kept his car out of trouble. He really looks like he's just kind of cruising right now with 5 laps to go.
I'll tell you, we got to give another call to Jeff Bodine, who is still in the lead lap. He's in 5th place now after Kyle Petty came into the pits. Only 5 cars in the lead lap, but he's running on 7 cylinders here for about the last 75 or 80 miles. He has kept that car in the lead lap, and he's going to get a good finish out of it today.
4 more laps to go. One further 496 have been completed. Bill Elliott threatens to lengthen his lead in Winston Cup competition. Second place Earnhardt is second, and Rusty Wallace, 3rd place in Winston Cup, is running 3rd right now. Elliott once again off the 4th corner to complete lap 497. 3 to go.
If it winds up this way, the way they're running, Bob, Bill Elliott would earn 10 more points than Dale Earnhardt. Second place is 170 points. First place is 175, but Bill has led the most laps, so that would give him 5-point bonus as well. So he got the same bonus for leading that Elliott did.
Going into this race, Elliott had a 117-point lead, so he may be moving it up to 127. Here they are, side by side for 3rd position, as Davey Allison is now making a challenge on Rusty Wallace. And Rusty certainly doesn't want to lose that 3rd position because it means valuable Winston Cup points. Davey just a little bit squirrely on the bottom side of the racetrack and has to give up that position once again to Rusty. But Davey is certainly showing some strength here in the closing stages. This time around, it'll be the white flag for Bill Elliott. Harold Kinder displays it. There it is, the white flag. 1 more lap to go for Bill Elliott, and he'll have his 6th win of the 1988 season. He moves through corner number 2 and goes down the backstretch now for the final time. He won here in the spring at Dover and is threatening to make it a clean sweep for 1988. Bill Elliott through corner number 3, now corner number 4. He's onto the main straightaway, and Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, wins the Delaware 500. Second goes to Earnhardt. 3rd was Rusty Wallace, and 4th Davey Allison.
And Jeff Bodine will come home in 5th place in the lead lap.
Boy, what a race. Bill Elliott kept his cool all day long. Dale Earnhardt, really a lot of determination from his part because of all the adversity he faced trying to regain those lost laps. Amazing race today.
And now Fords have won the last 5 races in a row here at Dover Downs International Speedway. Well, it's been a long afternoon of racing, and certainly Bill Elliott is going to be a very tired race driver when he comes to victory lane, but we'll be there to talk with him in just a moment. Elliott wins the Delaware 500. We'll be back to talk with him in just a moment. We are back at Dover, and there you can see Bill Elliott in victory lane as he unstraps the helmet and will now be getting out the earplugs. He can hear Jerry Punch, who's right there with him. Jerry?
What a day, Bill says to me as he takes the helmet off. Outstanding day, Bill. Congratulations on a great run.
Could you get much luckier than when the caution come out and the right rear blows out? I couldn't. Man, that's something else right there.
Your heart had to skip a beat. I mean, did you feel a vibration in the car at all?
No, the car ran good all day long. We didn't have that much tire problems, and you know that really surprised me. I didn't know what the problem was, but just as I crossed the start-finish line there, when the caution was out, the right rear just blew out. And, boy, that was luck, because you know that'd have put us totally out of the race if that happened during the race.
When you took the green on the final restart, you pulled away to about 15, 18 car lengths. Then you began to sit there for a while, and Earnhardt was catching you. Were you just biding your time, or was he actually running you down?
Well, I was letting him use his stuff up, and I was just biding my time because I knew I had a good lead, and there wasn't no need abusing it. You know, the car got just a little bit loose there at the end, but still the car ran good all day long. I had, you know, other than that problem there with the right rear cut down, you know, the Melling crew did a fantastic job getting me in and out of the pits, and you know I got to thank Coors and Motorcraft and Ford for their involvement, because without them I wouldn't be right here, that's for certain.
Bill Elliott came to this track at 6 o'clock this morning, and he told me, he said, I'm controlling my own destiny. The decision I make this morning will determine what happens to me today and in the championship. He made the right decision. In victory lane, it's Bill Elliott.
And our Goodyear Winter Circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. Let's take a look at the top 10 finishers here this afternoon. The winner was Bill Elliott. Finishing in second position was Dale Earnhardt. Rusty Wallace came home third. Davey Allison fourth. And Jeff Bodine finished in fifth position. Finishing in the 6th through 10th positions, Kyle Petty was 6th. Mike Alexander, a strong show all day, in 7th. Neil Bonnet 8th. Lake Speed 9th. And Ricky Rudd was in 10th position. Now let's take a look at the unofficial point standings. Elliott with 3,548. Dale Earnhardt with 34.21 and Rusty Wallace at 34.09. So still we have a great battle as we head for Martinsville next weekend. And coming up next here on ESPN, the Maryland Million. That will be live from Baltimore as our Budweiser Racing Across America continues. As we said, next week we'll be in Martinsville, Virginia for the Goodies 500 Winston Cup race. We hope you'll be with us. And we also invite you to join us for Speed Week this coming Thursday night at 7:30, where we'll wrap up all the racing activity from this previous week. My thanks to Larry Newber, Jerry Punch, Dick Berggren in the pit area, Ned Jarrett in the booth, and Gary Nelson in the booth, and also Benny Parsons. We'll see you later. This is Bob Jenkins for now. So long, everyone.